Vibes around the place of life, friends from fashion, lifestyle.
Okay.
Good morning, all. On behalf of the Office of the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service and the State Department for Water and Sanitation, I warmly welcome all participants to this consultative virtual meeting between the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service and the State Department for Water and Sanitation in conjunction with the Council of Governors. To begin with, I invite Madam Jennifer Wino to lead us in the opening prayer. Madam Jennifer.
Let us pray. Almighty Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, we come before you this morning with a grateful heart. We thank you for the gift of life and the gift of good health. We thank you for this good day. We declare that this is the day you have made, and we shall be glad and rejoice in it. We invite your presence in this morning to come and give us guidance, direction, and wisdom. We pray that, Lord, give us the zeal to serve you and the people of this country with integrity and honesty. We pray that all the deliberations of this meeting will help us to add value in our discharge of duties to Kenyans. We ask for peace and for your mercies, O Lord. In Jesus' mighty name we pray, trusting and believing. Amen.
And allow me now to acknowledge the presence of our chief guest, the Chief of Staff and the Head of the Public Service, Mr. Felix Koskei. Also present are the Principal Secretary, State Department for Water and Sanitation, Mr. Julius Korir, the Principal Administrative Secretary in the Executive Office of the President, Mr. Arthur Osia, chairpersons, board members, and CEOs, water sector institutions, county executive committee members, and the chief officers of the county government departments for water, other senior officers from the Office of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service, the State Department for Water and Sanitation, the Council of Governors, water sector agencies, county governments, and the water service providers, distinguished officers from across the government, and we reserve a very special welcome to each one of you, our invited participants who have logged into this meeting from all across the length and breadth of this country, whether individually or in groups. This includes all staff of the State Department for Water and Sanitation, all staff of the 16 water sector agencies, staff of the Council of Governors, staff of the county departments for water, staff of water service providers, both public and private. To ensure a smooth meeting, kindly observe the following protocols. You will be required to introduce yourself in the chat section by indicating your name, your designation, station, or county. If you are seated together with others, please let us also have the list of participants. Also, at all times, please note that this meeting is being held in a webinar format, and all participant microphones are currently switched off. For those who may wish to speak during the plenary session, kindly raise your hand, after which our technical team will enable your microphone. Participants are also directed to use a Q&A function for questions that require responses during the session. The chat section should primarily be used for introductions and brief comments. Please note that all material, including the PowerPoint presentations made, the recordings of this meeting, as well as the speeches made by the chief guests and the keynote speakers, will be shared. We are also on other social media pages. You can follow the Chief of Staff through Felix Koskei on Facebook, X, TikTok, and make sure you write Koskei, Koskei. The Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service on YouTube channel also is available. We now proceed with the program. And to begin with, I invite Mr. Arthur Osia, CBS, Principal Administrative Secretary in the Executive Office of the President, to deliver his welcome remarks. Karibu, Bwana Osia.
Thank you, Mariba. Our chief guest and the principal convener of this session, the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, the Principal Secretary, State Department for Water and Sanitation, Julius Korir, senior officials and staff from the State Department of Water and Sanitation and the Council of Governors and County Governments, all distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Allow me to extend a very warm welcome to all of you to this important engagement, which brings together leadership and staff across all cadres within Kenya's water and sanitation sector. This session forms part of the ongoing series of structured and consultative engagements across the public service. The Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service has been undertaking a deliberate and well-coordinated program of engagements aimed at strengthening coherence, reinforcing unity of purpose, and sharpening strategic focus across the public service. These engagements are anchored within the broader revitalization and re-energization agenda, a flagship reform initiative designed to consolidate gains made, deepen institutional alignment, and renew our collective commitment to disciplined, ethical, and results-driven service delivery. With this reform agenda, which spans the entire public service, it is recognized that different sectors face distinct operational realities. Accordingly, tailored engagements such as this one are necessary to ensure that sector-specific challenges are addressed and that performance improvements are both measurable and sustained. The water and sanitation sector, being one of the most citizen-facing and impact-driven sectors, occupies a central place in this reform effort. The quality, the responsiveness, and integrity of services delivered here directly shape public trust and national well-being. Sir, allow me to commend the leadership of the State Department for Water and Sanitation and the Council of Governors for their exemplary coordination and mobilization efforts. Your commitment, particularly in ensuring full participation of staff across all levels, even over the Easter period, is both noted and appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to report that under the stewardship of the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, this reform agenda has gained significant traction across government. Extensive engagements have already been held and undertaken across multiple sectors, with encouraging levels of uptake and alignments emerging. This office has held consultations with all regulatory authorities and agencies, all the leaderships of public universities, including chancellors, vice chancellors, council members, deans and registrars, all the leaderships of technical and vocational education and training institutions, including chairpersons of councils, boards, principals, deputy principals, and heads of departments. The office has also engaged with all the heads of human resource function across the public service, all public finance management officers, including heads of internal audit, finance officers, accountants, and procurement officers, all public officers of all cadres across all duty stations, both within and outside the borders of this country. The head of public service has also engaged all leaderships of all research institutions with a consistent message. This office has also engaged national government administration officers, all the leaderships of our public primary and secondary schools. And yesterday, a similar engagement was held with health professionals of all cadres drawn from the State Department of Medical Services, State Department of Health and Professional Standards, and the county governments. Next week, the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service will extend these sectoral engagements to professionals in sectors of roads, transport, environment, energy, lands, forestry, climate, and the entire complement of the police service in our country. Ladies and gentlemen, the ultimate objective is clear: to ensure that this revitalization and re-energization agenda permeates every level of governance and reaches every corner of the Republic, embedding a culture of accountability, discipline, professionalism, and results-oriented service delivery throughout the public service architecture. Above all, we must ensure that our efforts translate into a lived and felt experience for our citizens. The people of Kenya must experience a public service that is responsive, efficient, compassionate, and firmly aligned to their needs and aspirations. I therefore urge each one of us to take personal responsibility in cascading this message within our respective institutions. The conversation must continue at every level until the transformation we seek becomes visible, tangible, and undeniable. With those many remarks, it is now my distinct honor and privilege to invite the Principal Secretary for the State Department of Water and Sanitation, Mr. Julius Korir, to give his opening remarks. Karibu, Bwana PS.
Thank you, Bwana Arthur. Our chief guest, Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, Honorable Felix Koskei, my colleagues, chairpersons and CEOs, and all the fraternity of the water sector. It is a great honor and privilege to have you all in this meeting, and it's the greatest honor actually to host the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service as he shares with us his vision, his desire for a revitalized and re-energized public service, and in particularly the water sector. I think, sir, this is a great honor for us as the water sector to have you with us. Today, we are ready and ready to get to understand what your vision is. I think in other engagements and other forums, you have shared with us a lot of areas where we've seen improvement of public service in terms of service delivery. But this one now targeting in our sector, we really want to appreciate you, the county government, and maybe just as a way of starting us is that water sector is both an intergovernmental sector, where we have the national government responsible for policy, direction, strategic planning, oversight, and also implementation of infrastructure that are transboundary in nature, but also the service provision is with the county. And without harmony, the two levels of government, then the service delivery for citizens is going to be hampered. So today we are grateful that you have found time to come and be with us and share with us that vision of re-energizing. And before I invite you, because mine is just to really welcome you to address us, first I would want to remind my colleagues within the water sector, especially the CEOs. We are on a virtual meeting, and the system is recording attendance. And I think as per yesterday when we were planning this, we had expected people to onboard to the tune of 2,000. Right now, I'm seeing on the counter, we are at around 1,400, 1,440, which means we still have about 700 people who have not boarded. I want to urge the CEOs and all the heads of departments within the ministry, and also I would also want to urge the COG and the county executive members in charge of water and also the water service providers to ensure that the staff below them or under them are all registered, because the system will analyze at the end of the program those who participated fully. And also there is a tendency where people join in at the start and then later drop out. We will also measure those who are going to sit in throughout the entire session. So I want to urge my colleagues, especially the accounting officers and those who are heading departments, to ensure that the people within their departments and within their agencies don't drop out. We all ensure that we are on until the end of the session, because there are very important things that are going to be discussed that are very critical to us being able to deliver our mandate. Water, as you all know, is a characterization, not mere as a result or as a resource, but it's also a human right. As per the Bill of Rights, every Kenyan has a right to access adequate and safe water. And so that means as a sector, when we are revitalized, we are going to be able to provide that service to the Kenyans in a manner that they enjoy and their rights are also fulfilled. So it is important that we all sit through this session until the end. So with those brief remarks, I now have the opportunity to invite the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, Honorable Felix Koskei, to give us keynote address so that we can start the program for the day. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes, the Principal Secretary, State Department for Water and Sanitation, P.S. Julius Korir, the chairpersons of boards, board members, CEOs, senior officers in both the national and county government, all public officers serving across the State Department for Water and Sanitation, and affiliated institutions and in the county governments. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Let me begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to each one of you serving in this critical sector of water and sanitation. You are custodians of one of the most fundamental public goods, water and sanitation, which lies at the very, very core of human dignity, public health, economic productivity, and environmental sustainability. Every day, through your work, you directly impact the lives of millions of Kenyans. This includes households accessing clean water, health facilities, maintaining hygiene and standards, schools providing safe sanitation for learners, and communities being protected from waterborne diseases. This makes your role deeply human, transformational, and central to national development. I therefore wish to commend you for your commitment, resilience, and the progress the sector has made over the years. The expansion of water coverage, the growth in sector revenues, and the increasing focus on sanitation are clear indicators that this sector has the capacity to deliver meaningful change when systems function effectively. At the same time, I want to acknowledge the complexity within which you operate. This is a sector that sits at the intersection of multiple demands, including a growing population, climate variability, infrastructure gaps, financing constraints, and increasing citizen expectations. Delivering results in such an environment requires technical competence, strong leadership, integrity, coordination, and accountability at all levels. This engagement today is part of a deliberate and ongoing effort within the public service to re-energize and revitalize performance, strengthen accountability, and ensure that every institution delivers effectively on its mandate. Some may ask, why this sector? The answer is straightforward. This is because water and sanitation is not just another service area. It is a foundational sector upon which many other sectors depend. Without reliable water, our health systems cannot function effectively. Without proper sanitation, we undermine public health outcomes and increase the burden of disease. Without sustainable water resources, agriculture, industry, and energy production are all affected. In simple terms, when this sector fails, the consequences are immediate, visible, and far-reaching. When it performs well, the impact is equally transformative across the entire economy and in the daily lives of citizens. That is why this sector demands a higher level of attention, stronger accountability, and consistent performance. It is not optional. It is central to national development and to the dignity of every Kenyan. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is also important to situate this sector within the broader government development agenda. Under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, water and sanitation has been deliberately prioritized because it is a key enabler of inclusive growth and improved livelihoods. Access to this reliable water supports agriculture, drives industrial activity, sustains small businesses, and improves household welfare across both rural and urban settings. At the same time, this is one of the most visible and citizen-facing sectors within government. The impact of your work is felt directly and immediately at the household level. Citizens do not interact with policy documents. They interact with services. They open a tap and expect water to flow. They expect safe sanitation systems. They expect reliability, quality, and responsiveness. This therefore places a higher obligation on this sector. Performance here is not abstract, as it is experienced daily by citizens. It shapes public trust in government, and it influences how citizens perceive the effectiveness of the public service as a whole. Having said this, we must now confront the reality of sector performance. While progress has been made, there are persistent weaknesses that continue to undermine service delivery. Many of these challenges are not purely structural. They are operational, managerial, and in some cases, behavioral. They fall within our control as public officers. Allow me, therefore, to highlight key areas of concern. The first is inefficiency in water systems and high non-revenue water. One of the most significant challenges remain the high levels of non-revenue water. Water losses remain unacceptably high across many utilities. This is driven by delayed repair of leakages, weak metering systems, illegal connections, and in some cases, deliberate collusion and water theft. This is a failure of supervision, enforcement, and accountability. The second area of concern is weak maintenance culture and non-functional infrastructure. We continue to observe a pattern of infrastructure that fails prematurely or operates below capacity. Water systems, boreholes, and sanitation facilities are being developed but not adequately maintained. In some cases, projects are commissioned without clear sustainability plans, and in others, routine maintenance is neglected. This reflects a systemic weakness in operational discipline and asset management. The area of concern number 3 is intermittent and unreliable service delivery. Even where infrastructure exists, service delivery remains inconsistent. There are areas where citizens receive water only for limited hours despite being connected. This raises serious concerns about systems management, distribution efficiency, and operational planning. Access alone is not sufficient. Reliability is a fundamental expectation. Concern number 4 is gaps in sanitation management. Sanitation continues to lag behind water supply in both attention and effectiveness. Infrastructure is being put in place, but systems of waste management, treatment, and sustainability are often weak or absent. As a result, we continue to see pollution of rivers, lakes, and other water bodies. This undermines public health and reverses gains made in water provision. Another issue of concern is number 5 is weak enforcement and regulatory compliance. There are clear gaps in enforcement across the sector. Illegal connections persist. Non-compliance with standards is tolerated. In some cases, there is delayed or no action taken against violations. This points to weaknesses in oversight and a reluctance to enforce standards consistently. The issue of concern number 6 is governance and accountability gaps. There are concerns relating to weak supervision, delayed decision-making, and inadequate follow-up on projects and institutional performance. In some institutions, performance management systems are not effectively enforced. Reporting does not always reflect the true state of affairs, and accountability is not consistently applied. This weakness weakens institutional credibility and performance. Concern number 6 or number 7 is integrity and professional conduct concerns. In certain instances, there are issues relating to integrity. These include tolerance of illegal connections, weak safeguards against resource misuse, and failure to act decisively where misconducts occur. Such practices erode public trust and compromises service delivery. Ladies and gentlemen, at the same time, we must address with clarity and without hesitation the issues that arise from within our own ranks. There are instances where the very challenges we are discussing are being driven or enabled by the actions and inactions of public officers within this sector. When leakages are not repaired in time, when illegal connections are allowed to persist, when systems are not properly maintained, when data is misreported, or when resources are mismanaged, these are not external failures. They are internal failures. When citizens go for days without water despite existing infrastructure, when sanitation systems fail due to neglect, or when projects stall due to weak follow-through, the responsibility lies squarely with us. Let it be clearly understood that such practices are not acceptable. They undermine government efforts, erode public trust, and directly compromise the well-being and dignity of citizens. When we look beyond our borders, the evidence is clear. Countries that have achieved excellence in public service delivery have done not necessarily because they possess significantly greater resources, but because they have built disciplined, accountable, and highly committed public service systems. In countries such as Singapore, the strength of the public service lies in culture of performance, integrity, and strict accountability. Systems function because officers take responsibility. Standards are enforced consistently. Results are expected and delivered. The same can be said of other high-performing systems and countries such as Rwanda and South Korea, where public institutions operate with discipline, coordination, and a strong sense of national duty. These countries have demonstrated that transformation is not a function of resource alone. It is a function of mindset, leadership, and the collective commitment of public officers to deliver results. Kenya cannot afford to lag behind. The water and sanitation sector should not be left behind in our journey to Singapore. With the resources we commit to this sector, the outcomes must reflect value, impact, and continuous improvement. This is both a national obligation and a global expectation. Ladies and gentlemen, what we are building here is no different. We are building a formidable force of public officers within the water and sanitation sector. A disciplined, accountable, and result-oriented corps of professionals who understands the weight of their responsibility and the direct impact of their work on citizens. This is an army of public servants who are committed to ensuring that water flows reliably, that sanitation systems function effectively, and that every investment translates into real and measurable service delivery. However, this kind of system does not accommodate indifference. Those who are prepared to uphold the values of public service, to ensure standards and deliver results, have a clear place in this sector. But those who are unwilling to change, who continue to enable inefficiency, tolerate non-compliance, or compromise integrity, must make a decision. They must either align themselves fully with this agenda or step aside and allow those who are ready to serve with diligence and accountability to take up the responsibility. And I think on that point, you've seen government action from one sector to the other. Late last year, the government focused on road sector, and you saw what happened. This year, and early last week or 2 weeks ago, last week, the government has focused on energy sector, and you've seen what has happened. So we expect all of us to reorganize our minds and focus now on service delivery with diligence and accountability, because this government will never, even for a single minute, tolerate actions that will bring disrepute to government or make the public lack confidence and trust in government. We must create space for those who are ready to serve, to sacrifice, and to deliver. The challenges before us are significant. They require a team that is fully committed, one that is ready to confront them head on and to be part of the transformation we seek. Ladies and gentlemen, the expectation of the water and sanitation sector, just as is the case with all other sectors within the public service, are as follows. One is alignment with the government development agenda, ensuring that the sector fully understands and aligns its programs, investments, and operations with the administration's bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Water and sanitation must be positioned as key enablers of agriculture, industrialization, urban development, public health, and improved livelihoods. All projects must demonstrate clear contribution to these national priorities. The second expectation is reinforcing values and professional standards. And I'm saying this because all of us in this sector are professionals of different shades. Re-emphasizing the public service values of integrity, accountability, professionalism, efficiency, and responsiveness in the management of water and sanitation services. These include strict enforcement of standards, elimination of illegal connections, safeguarding of water resources, and ensuring that all officers uphold the highest level of ethical conduct in service development. The third issue that we need to seek to see a realignment in the sector is the mindset and attitude transformation. This is key and this is central. This is encouraging a deliberate shift from routine bureaucratic practice to a results-driven and service-oriented approach. Officers must move beyond infrastructure delivery to ensuring functional, reliable, and sustainable water and sanitation systems. Performance must be defined by outcomes experienced by citizens, not processes completed. The fourth expectation is breaking institutional silos, promoting greater collaboration, coordination, and integration across national and county governments, regulators, water service providers, and other sectors. Water resource management, water service delivery, and sanitation must operate as a unified system to eliminate delays, reduce inefficiencies, and accelerate service delivery. The fifth expectation is citizen-centric service delivery, repositioning sector institutions to remain responsive, accessible, and customer-focused. Citizens must receive reliable water supply, safe and functional sanitation services, and timely response to service delivery issues. The sector must consistently meet the real needs and expectations of households, communities, and businesses. The sixth is a prudent management of public resources. It is an expectation. Prudent management of public resources. Emphasizing responsible and efficient use of public resources, transparency in financial management, and strict adherence to public finance management principles. This includes reducing non-revenue water, improving billing and revenue collections, ensuring value for money in projects, and eliminating wastage, inefficiency, and resource leakages. The seventh expectation is strengthening monitoring and evaluation. We require institutions to track, monitor, and evaluate their programs and operations to ensure that interventions deliver measurable impact. Performance data must be accurate and reliable, with clear accountability for results, timely corrective action, and continuous improvement in service delivery. These expectations, ladies and gentlemen, must not remain at the level of statements. They must translate into action across every institution and at every level of service delivery. This message must cascade to all officers within the State Department and across the entire water and sanitation sector, regardless of cadres or duty stations. We want all of us as officers that are now translating into an army in this sector to own the expectations that we have laid down with others, that your team and leadership always adds to what we have also laid down. So every public officer must clearly understand what is required of them and what is expected in the discharge of their responsibilities. All CEOs and senior leaderships are therefore directed to align institutional work plans, performance contracts, and operational priorities with these expectations. There must be clear targets, well-defined responsibilities, and measurable outcomes that reflect real improvements in service delivery. Internal accountability mechanism must be strengthened. We want to see auditors operating well. We want to see Department of Quality and those who have been given responsibility to ensure that they inspect and approve project completions, etc., are working. Supervision of our programs, systems, and projects must be consistent, and performance must be actively monitored. Where gaps are identified, corrective action must be taken without delay. Reporting must not only be regular, but must demonstrate tangible progress supported by clear evidence of results. Let there be no ambiguity. Implementation is not optional. It is expected, it is required, and it must be evident in the quality, reliability, and efficiency of the services delivered to the people of Kenya. Where there is non-performance, there will be consequences. Where there is negligence, there will be accountability. Where there is misuse of resources or failure to uphold standards, decisive action will be taken. This is a standard that must define this sector. As you leave this engagement, after we finalize the session in another 1.5 hours, I expect each one of you to return to your duty stations with renewed clarity, urgency, and commitment. The responsibility you carry is significant, and the expectations placed upon you are clear. The time for action is now. Kenya cannot afford to waste even a single minute. We cannot afford delays, complacency, or business as usual. What is required, ladies and gentlemen, is decisive action, disciplined execution, and a collective commitment to deliver results that are visible to citizens. What we are building is a public service that works, a public service that delivers, a public service that citizens can trust. Each one of you has a role to play in this transformation. Each one of you must take responsibility, and each one of you must deliver. Let me end there and wish you a very exciting program going forward in 1.5 hours. Then I'll revert back to close this session. Thank you. Thank you very much, and have a nice session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much to the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service for the keynote address that he has just delivered. Thank you also to the Principal Secretary from the State Department for Water and Sanitation for the brief remarks shared, and of which his substantive remarks will be made towards the end of this meeting. And as the Head of Public Service has said, He's going to come back towards the end in about an hour and a half to be able to review together with us the presentations and the remarks and the comments that will have been made by members. A warm welcome to all of you to this meeting. As you will have heard from the Principal Administrative Secretary in the Executive Office of the President, Mr. Arthur Osia, say, he went through the list of meetings that the Head of Public Service has been having in the recent past, with the most recent being yesterday with the State Departments for Health and the State Department for Medical Services. So today being the day for water and sanitation, we're very delighted to be able to have this meeting. And the Head of Public Service, of course, being able to interact with the Principal Secretary together with the staff from the State Department, as well as all the people who work in the water sector within the counties. We welcome you on board. Now, just to repeat, so that we are clear on what we need to do going forward, you need to introduce yourself in the chat section.
Morning.
Your name, your
Salama
designation,
sana.
and your name, your designation, as well as the county that you come from. I would request
Mr.
your
Wachira
microphone.
to mute. Mr. Wachira. Okay.
Thank you, Bona PS. Thank you. Yes, so kindly introduce yourself in the chat section where you state your name, your designation, and where your workstation is, whether you're from the counties. We'd really appreciate to know that, so that even when we look at the information about the attendance to this meeting, we're able to place each one of you. I also want to request you there are many questions that have come in, people asking their microphones are not working, etc. Please note that this is a webinar and therefore all our microphones have been disabled except for when we are speaking, so that we can be able to have a meeting, of course, that is orderly and one that does not have interruption. I also want to say that at the bottom of your screen, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you have several icons there. One of them being the one for chat. That's where you introduce yourself. Number two, you have an icon there that talks about Q&A. That's question and answer. If you have a question that you would like to be responded to, kindly use the Q&A section. Click on it and write your question. There is a team of people from the State Department as well as the Council of Governors who are on standby to be able to respond to questions in the Q&A section. Then down the road shortly, there'll be a plenary section where anybody is open to ask a question or make a comment. Actually, more of make a comment, where you'll be asked at that time to raise your hand, and then your microphone will be enabled for you to be able to make a comment. Then for your information, again, we shall be disseminating all the materials from this meeting, including the speech that has been made by the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service. We shall also be sending out the presentations that will be made by the team from the State Department for Water and Sanitation, as well as from the Council of Governors. So you don't have to worry about that. You'll get all this material, including this recording. We have found quite a number of course, questions regarding that. So please do, rest your mind that you receive all this. And of course, we would also want to draw your attention to the social media pages for the Chief of Staff and the Head of the Public Service, where further information about his programs can be found. And that is Felix Koskei, Koskei, on Facebook, TikTok, as well as X, and now also on YouTube, where you find him under the handle Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service. Please remember that if you're seated in groups following this meeting, we would request that in the chat section, you write the name of each and every individual, and then we're able at least to take stock of that and record that. Now, we'd also appreciate pictures of yourselves, selfies of yourselves, or where you're seated in groups, whether it is in the counties or whether it is in the different offices. We'd appreciate getting pictures of the same. Now, the number to which you can send those pictures, that is the number for this office, is going to be put in the chat section, so that you can be able to use it to send those selfies. We'd appreciate them to be able to just see how we are all together in this one meeting on this online platform. And we usually do like to be able to receive these pictures, some of which will be used on the pages of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service. And I would encourage the presenter from the State Department for Water to also share the handle for the State Department for Water, the social media handles, so that we are able to, also share the same and do so. So with that, I'd like to then call upon the speakers who are going to speak for the next few minutes. And this will start with my colleague, Mr. Collins Kiprono, who is the Secretary Legal. He'll be followed by Engineer Samuel Alima from the State Department for Water. And Mr. Alima will be followed by Mr. Kizito Wangalwa, Director Committees and Programs from the Council of Governors, who will then be followed by Duncan Kishamu, CPA Duncan Kishamu from this office. And then we shall have then brought that to that period to a close. So in that order, when one finishes, please, the next one, just open your microphone and your camera and proceed. And let us dispense with the protocol so that we're able to move faster. Just write on the ones that have already been established. Welcome, and let us enjoy this session.
Thank you very much, Daktari. To the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, the PS, Water and Sanitation Services, and all protocols observed. Good morning. Distinguished participants from the national government and county governments, colleagues in the public service, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Office of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, I'm honored this morning to set context, to make a presentation on today's webinar. We are privileged to have the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, who has made his keynote address, providing the overarching guidance on this very important engagement. On behalf of the Office of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, I'll be making a presentation in the next 5 or so minutes on the mandate of the Office of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, its legal anchorage. This particular presentation is intended to place this office into its proper constitutional and statutory administrative context and show why its mandate is directly relevant to the broader public service agenda, and particularly in relation to the constitutional values, legal compliance, performance, efficiency, and service delivery. The Office of the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service colleagues occupies a very strategic place in the Kenyan governance structure. It is a key office through which the presidency and the president himself assures organization, coordination, and execution of the government's business across the entire public service. In practical terms, colleagues, this is the office where central stewardship and coordination is done at the apex government office. This office is anchored in 3 levels. The first level being its constitutional foundation. That is a particular reference to Article 132(3)(b) of the Constitution, where it provides that the president is responsible for the coordination of the functions of all the ministries and government agencies. And the constitutional responsibility provides a broader basis upon which the president organizes the machinery that is government and ensures coherence in the public administration. The second limb is the statutory anchorage. That is Section 7 and Section 8 of the National Government Coordination Act, that is Act number 4 of 2024, which establishes the Office of the Head of Public Service in the Executive Office of the President as an office within the public service. The Act provides that the holder shall support the President in facilitating and organizing the execution of government business. And the head of public service shall also double up as the chief of staff to the president. And by doing this function, there shall be act as the administrative head of the executive office of the president, and shall perform, as stated in the act again, such functions as may be assigned by the president. The third anchorage is the administrative and operational framework, which has been codified under the Executive Order number 1 of 2025, which elaborates the operational role of the Office of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service within the Executive Office of the President and within the wider public service. Against this backdrop, colleagues, the mandate of the office may be understood in 6 high-level functions, as you can check in the slide that has been projected. The first function of the office is to serve as the administrative head of the Executive Office of the President. This is expressly provided under Section 7 of the National Government Coordination Act. In that capacity, colleagues, the office sits as the administrative center of the presidency and supports the orderly functioning of the Executive Office of the President. The second function is the high-level coordinating and stewardship role within the public service and within all the public entities, again done at the behest of the President. This is done to secure proper organization and functioning of government business. The office supports the President in facilitating the organization and execution of government business and provides a coordination at the highest possible level in the administration of the public service. In that sense, colleagues, it helps to ensure there is coherence, alignment, and orderly functionality across all the ministries, state departments, and all the public institutions, including the functions that is done together with the different counties to ensure that there is seamless functionality within both levels of government, both national and county. The third function, colleagues, as you can check on your screens, is promotion of ethics, good governance, efficiency, and effectiveness in the provision of public services through deployment of the appropriate skills, values, and leadership. This is one of the other most critical functions as well, as it ensures services across all dimensions within the public services undertaken. It places the office at the center of efforts of strengthening integrity, leadership, competence, and execution of discipline within the public service, so that a water engineer is placed at the rightful place, so that an accountant is not asked to provide the services of a water engineer. Again, colleagues, you notice that this is a function that this office undertakes in conjunction with the different other statutory and constitutional office, including the Public Service Commission, including SCAC, including your different heads of HR, including your different boards, including all other functions that are envisaged in the different legislation. The fourth function of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service is to transmit the executive directives, orders, and presidential proclamations to the different MDAs and State Department for information, implementation, and the necessary action. This function is equally critical because it links the presidential direction to institutional follow-through across government. It is one of the practical ways in which the executive authority is translated into an administrative function, so that any directive that is given now translates into an actionable plan for all of us. The fifth function of the office, colleagues, is to issue and transmit policy and administrative advisory, including circulars, to the public service, as it may originate from the Executive of the Office of the President. This is a very familiar and important public and administrative tool through which circulars and advisories are made to our respective offices to give guidance, standardized practice, and communicate policy direction, and ensures that there is coherence in implementation of different directives within the public service. But again, remember, we also receive circulars from our different entities. We receive circulars from our Ministry of Water. We receive circulars from our different counties. We receive circulars from the National Treasury, the State Law Office, the Public Service Commission, Salaries and Remuneration Commission, as appertaining their particular mandate and clarity when is required. Colleagues, on the sixth function is to provide stewardship for the general efficiency and coordination and effective functioning of the public service. Official public service administration materials describe this office as being responsible for the general efficiency of the public service and coordination of activities for all the public servants. and overall organization of the machinery, as the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service has said, the machinery that is government. In practical terms, this places the office within the chain of responsibility for ensuring that the public administration and administration of functions is done effectively, coherently, and in a manner that supports results. So before we go to the centrality of where the water ministry come in, today's session is given a three-pronged theme. So when you look together with these functions as I've espoused of the Office of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, there is a fundamentally role of coordination, the role of stewardship, the role of efficiency and execution. So it concerns not only with these structures, but with whether government business is properly organized, and whether public institutions are aligned, and whether officers are guided by the right values and leadership, and whether the execution of our mandate is done and it directly translates into a lawful and an effective action. So for today's session, this session has three high-level themes, and that is the implementation of our constitutional values and statutory requirements, the improvement of performance and efficiency to optimal levels, and the provision of the premier services to the public in a qualitative, quantitative, and in a timely manner. Because remember, colleagues, our number one client remains to be the citizens. So while we are rendering these services should be relatable to the citizens. These services should be done at the highest possible attainable standards to the citizens. So in relation to the implementation of the constitutional and constitutional values and principles of public service and legal requirements under statutes thereof, this office is relevant because it sits as the intersection of legality, execution, and coordination of administrative discipline. It helps to ensure that government business is organized and executed within the constitutional and statutory framework, and that public administration reflects such as accountability, integrity, and responsiveness, and good governance. On the second prong, colleagues, in relation to the improvement of performance and efficiency to optimal levels, the office is relevant because it is closely connected to the general efficiency and public service, and the coordination tool with all the public servants and organization of the machinery, as stated again by the Chief of Staff, the general machinery that is government. It therefore has a direct bearing on whether public institutions operate within the effective, and whether public resources are used effectively, and whether performance is aligned with the government priorities. And finally, in relation to the provision of the premier service to the public service in a qualitative, quantitative, and a timely manner, this office is relevant because it forms part of the administrative chain in which policy is translated into actual service delivery. So therefore, and ultimately, the effectiveness of this office must be seen in the coherence and discipline and the responsiveness within the wider public service. So in the next 5 minutes, let me just speak to now where there is the intersection with the water sector. The water sector is central because it is one of the most public service, and the examples I don't need to emphasize. Our boss, the Chief of Staff, and the chair of this meeting has clearly put out that citizens expect when they open the tap, they find water. So it's the most visible public service. So a practical test of the constitutional governance and public service delivery sits within our mandate while we're executing it. So we understand that this is a devolved functions, but there is an interdependent aspect to it involving both national and county governments. So as useful lens of examining the legality, efficiency, and accountability, and the citizen facing, is where now the water sector comes in. So as a take-home, the water sector is a true reflection whether public service is working or not. I'll go to the next slide. So the water sector is especially suitable for this purpose, as it's one of the clearest points in which the citizens experience government directly. So it is expected of us to be able to breathe light into the constitutional dictates. That is the constitutional dictates that provided in under Article 10 that speaks to the national values and principles of governance. Article 189 that speaks into the role and the coordinated, the two-pronged approach in terms of undertaking our mandate between the two levels of government, national and county. Article 43 that provides water to be a right, and Article 43D that expects that government is expected to provide safe water and in adequate quantities. And when you go down to even the Water Act exemplifies the role in which we are expected to play, both national and the devolved unit. So there is the interdependent aspect to it, as I've stated, requiring both national and county governments to work within the shared constitutional and statutory framework. As you can see, the Water Act itself provides the administrative aspects to it and these particular principles. So when in the next few minutes, I'll just speak to very high levels. Go to the next slide. The themes that I've spoken to when it comes to the infusion with the Office of the Chief of Staff. But now, again, when my colleagues from the ministry and COG, they'll be making their presentation, they'll speak to greater lengths to these particular aspects, which speaks to the implementation, implementing the constitutional values, which I've spoken to. You can go to the next slide. Improving framework and efficiency to optimal levels. Here, the water sector is presented with a very clear performance story, because when you go to the WASREB's report of 2023-2024, it speaks to the impact report that shows that an average non-revenue water stood at about 44%, meaning that there's a substantial share of treated water that is lost before billing or collection. So that speaks to the issue of cost and recovery and the financial impact it has to the citizens. So there needs to be an institutional performance improvement, so that because it differs from what is on the ground, and again between the different counties. And you notice that, as I've said, all of us should work to ensure that we work for the best interest of the citizen, the best interest of Mwananchi. So there cannot be merely technical indicators. These indicators of management on the quality maintenance, culture, and financial discipline, they should be informed by the data use, and if leadership should be effective while performing their mandate. So when you look at these key indicators, it raises fundamental public service question of how our institutional our institutions operate at the levels of efficiency, discipline, and performance to the citizens, and how the citizens are impacted within the different levels of government. So the take-home, colleagues, is that the performance should be measured by outcomes, not just the activities themselves. On the last thematic areas of provision of a premier service to the public service in a qualitative, quantitative, and in a tedious manner. When you go again to that report by WASREB, there is no county that has been able to achieve 100% access to water and sanitation. It's also on record that major disparities with some of the counties having below 5% coverage, with a few having exceeded 70%. And on sanitation, again, colleagues, 29% of the population are safely managed to get sanitation, with only about 15% connected to sewer networks, and only again 15% of these counties have domestic wastewater, with this report that was put by WASREB. And when you go further to a report that was done by UNICEF in 2024, about just 19.1% of the population still use surface water and their main as their main drinking source. And again, about 65% lack basic sanitation. So, colleague, these figures bring to us a lack of public service obligation under Article 232, and we are expected to perhaps work on something to ensure that these numbers do not just reflect the numbers that they were, because for both national and county governments, premier service is therefore a means more than just an infrastructure. It is a means of reducing disparities. It's a means of improving the reliability, strengthening sanitation outcomes, and responding to quick breakdown, into the complaints, and ensuring that the public experiences a government that is competent, a government that is fair, and a government that is present to be able to attend to the needs. So in closing, colleagues, what are the means and the implication of a whole of government approach? We should ensure that it's done within the confines of the law. Devolution must provide both a coordination and not a fragmented, so that we have different measures for different county governments, and these resources should be able to yield a visible public value, and both levels of government must work as one delivery system, as services should be able to should be centers of excellence that require strong accountability and execution of this mandate. So in conclusion, this water sector provides a practical and compelling lens in which we can be able to examine the broader obligation of the public service under the Constitution and under the different subsets of the law, because it is emerging that it's an issue that shows the challenges that are facing us is not only an infrastructure or a sector policy, it is equally a challenge of a public service stewardship that requires fidelity to the mandate, which is effectively utilization of the limited public resources, which should be able to be used in a measurable manner, and delivery should be done in a quality and timely and in an inequitable manner. So let's all remember that it is hoped that these reflections will help us frame today's discussions to enrich the deliberations to follow, and particularly from both levels of government. So as a parting shot, the true measure of public service is to the delivery to the citizens, because those are our number one clients while we're undertaking all our mandates. Thank you very much for giving me a listening ear, colleagues. Yeah, the next presenter has been elected. Please, you can take the stage.
Yes. Chief guest, PS, colleagues, allow me to stand on the protocol that has been laid in the morning. I'm Engineer Samuel Alema. I'll do a paper on Kenya water and sanitation sector, performance, challenges, and strategic direction. If that paper can be shared, then we can quickly go through it. Otherwise, I will continue going on. Yes. So I'll do a paper on Kenya water and sanitation sector, performance, challenges, and strategic direction. If you move to the second slide, the constitutional mandate of this sector is coming from Article 43B and D. B is on the reasonable standard of sanitations, and D is on clean water in adequate quantities and qualities. On the fourth schedule, we have got the mandate of water resources, use of international waters, national public water and sewerage works, disaster management. This includes safety of dams and consumer protection, water protection, securing significant residual water, and also hydraulic engineering. By the executive order, we have got the mandate that ranges from water resources management, policy and standards, water catchment conservation, control and protection, water and sewerage services policy, going up to water storage and flood control. And this is where we have the mandate of doing large dams, medium dams, and small dams in the country. The sector aspirations, colleagues, is a universal access to adequate water and sustainably managed water resources and sanitation by 2030. And this is anchored on the Constitution, and therefore we want to enhance this, sector governance leadership through formulation and implementation of policies, strategies which are in compliance to the Water Act 2016 and the Constitution of Kenya. We aim to increase water storage per capita to 550 meter cube per person by 2027. We are currently at 113. That is very low, and this is why we are now getting things right, measuring on construction on dams, small dams and medium dams. We want to increase access to water to 85% by 2027. We are currently at 74%. That is the survey that was done last year. So we believe, because we have commissioned several projects, we have completed several projects, we believe we are nearing this 85%. We want to increase access to safely managed sanitation from 40.9% to 60%. We want to increase national water storage from 4.1 million cubic meters to 13.2 million cubic meters. We want to reduce non-revenue waters from high as 45% to 15%. And we want to increase urban sanitation, urban sewerage from 16 to 40%. We are sure we are going to achieve this because of the projects that are currently ongoing and are nearing completion. We have several sewerage projects that are ongoing. The sector, the regulatory framework, the regulatory role of the State Department is undertaken by 3 institutions. That is Water Resources Authority, that is regulating water resources management, WASREP, that does regulation of water service provision, and Hydrologies Act, that does regulation of hydrologies practice in the country. If you move to the next slide, we have got a robust institutional framework for the water sector in Kenya. That we have got institutions that have got specific roles, specific mandates. For regulatory bodies, we have got Water Resources Authority that regulates water resources management in the entire country. We have got Water Services Regulatory Board that does regulation of water services. We have got Hydrologies Act, Hydrologies Decision Board that regulate professional on the hydrologies professional. Yeah, these water resources and water services are 2 distinct functions. So they cannot be done by one regulator because they have got 2 distinct functions. Before the reforms came up, we realized that water resources was completely being ignored or being neglected and only emphasizing on water services. At the national level institutions, we have got institutions which do development, financing, and others are also technical institutions. We have got Water Harvesting and Storage Authority, and this does flood control and water storage. It's the one that does dams in the country. We have got waterworks. These are national institutions, but at regional level, they do bulk water infrastructure development. And of course, we have got a Water Sector Trust Fund that does financing to cater for the poor, to cater for rural areas, and to cater for informal sectors. And of course, we have got the Water Tribunal that does conflict resolution. It is now housed in the judiciary. And in terms of training, we have Kenya Water Institute that does development, capacity development in the sector, training staff of the water service providers on job training, training on non-revenue water so that we reduce non-revenue water in the country. At regional level, we have got basin water resources committees that we are yet to establish because of the challenge of the law. We have got waterworks development agencies at regional level that develop bulk water supply. These are bulk water supplies that caters across several counties. And the county level, we have got water service providers. Water service providers are owned by the counties. They are established by the counties, and then they are regulated by the by WASREP. And of course, we have got water resource users associations that manage water resources at the catchment level. And the end users, we have got the communities that consume our services. We have communities that consume our services in terms of service provision, in terms of catchment protection, things like that. When you go to the next slide, just I show that this Kenyan's model is a robust one that separates water resources management and water service provision, that has got independent regulators, that has got poor financing, and therefore this model is being adopted in several countries in Africa. South Africa has adopted, Nigeria has adopted, Ethiopia has adopted, Ghana has adopted this model, Somalia has adopted this model. In Asia, Cambodia has adopted this model, Vietnam has adopted this model, Malaysia has adopted this model. And these countries come frequently to learn from us. Yeah, we have just received information that Nigeria wants to come to see how we are moved with this model and with these reforms. The next slide is our key indicators. How are we performing? So in terms of per capita, water per capita endowment, we are very low. We are at 4 or 5 meter cubed per person per year. This is very low because the international benchmark is around 1,000. So this is why we are focusing on construction of large dams so that we improve on our per capita. The national water coverage, we are at 74%. Access to safely managed sanitation, we are at 40.9%. This we have improved very fast because not far along, 2020, we are still at 34, but now we have reached 40.9 and we are moving further. Urban sewerage, we are 16%, and we are going to move a lot by the time we complete all the sewerage projects that we are implementing all over the country. We have got a sewerage project in Kapenguria, we have got sewerage project in Limuru, Kikuyu, we have sewerage project in Marsabit, we have sewerage project in Mandera. So when all these are completed, we are going to have a good coverage, but we are also improving on sanitation. Water storage per capita, we are at 107, which is currently when we do estimate, we are at 113. Then water production per year, we produce 461 million cubic meters per year. Non-revenue water, we are at 44%. We are going to go to 15% by 2027 when we do several actions, do rehabilitation of old infrastructure, do non-revenue water reduction plans and implement them. The annual turnover on revenue, this is particularly on service provision, we are at 28.85 billion. This is a big improvement over the years because at one time, before we started the reforms, we were just at 300 million. But now we have moved to 28.85. And the loss in terms of financial loss on non-revenue water, we're still at 11.9 billion. And we have got 95 water service providers in the country. This number keeps on changing. This number keeps on changing because some keep on registering, counties keep on establishing water service providers. So this number keeps on changing. In terms of how we are performing, how we are achieving in SDG, that is the next slide. Achievement so far in terms of SDG, we are moving. As you can see, by 2022, when we did our baseline population using safely managed water services, 68. 2024, 2025, 94. No, 74. A population of people using at least basic sanitation services, we are now at 93%. Proportion of population using safely managed sanitation, we are at 40.9%. Open defecation, we have reduced to 6%. And under programs that we are implementing with the World Bank, we want to be open defecation free. A reduction in non-revenue water has remained at 45%. The next slide, we are talking about achieving our vision. We are focusing on governance, improvement of governance in the sector. We are focusing on improving access to safely managed water services, safely managed sanitation, and hygiene services. We are focusing on mobilizing resources and utilizing those resources efficiency so that we can improve on our water coverage, we can improve on our safely managed sanitation. We want to enhance service delivery. by having that sustainability, so that infrastructure is not just a mechanical implementation, but implemented with the focus to the citizens, that the citizens get the services that they require. We are the four pillars, the pillars that we are relying on to have our achievement is investment planning. We want to strengthen coordination. We want to strengthen investment in the country by having a consistent and reliable financing mechanism, not once and off, but a consistent and reliable financing mechanism that can take this country to achieve the desired goals, because water, as has been said by the speakers before, is an international requirement. Even when you look at Agenda 2063, is all on water. We are relying on reforms. Since we started reforms in this sector in 2002, we have never stopped. So we are relying on reforms to improve our operational, capital, and tariff efficiency of water service providers. We are ring-fencing our revenue. The revenue that you see has improved from 300 million to 28.8 billion. We want that revenue to be ring-fenced, and that revenue goes back to be invested in the sector so that the next person is connected with water services. Last mile connectivity is done. We want to participate and strengthen public sector participation by scaling up PPPs, blended financing, because that is to help us on inadequacy of the public financing, which is limited. We want to enhance capacity development, data systems, so that we make decisions based on data. We want to be resilient on climate change. So these are the pillars that we are using to achieve our mandate, to achieve our vision. On the financing, the next slide, on the financing planning, we have completed our NAWASIP, the National Water Investment and Financing Plan, that we require 995 billion. That is close to 7.7 USD to give everybody water in this country. Give everybody water, give everybody dignity by having sewerage system, by having sanitation systems that work. So based on this, we plan to have 395 billion from concessional lending, to have 300 billion from PPPs, to have commercial financing, bringing in 82 billion, to have revenues, grants, and household contribution, so that we can implement our mandate, we can implement our desire. So leveraging on private sector is key to us. Professionalism and efficiency is key to us. In fact, when we analyze our reforms, we realize we have already achieved most of the things that we intended, but we need to go deeper and do thorough reforms on governance and efficiency, so that we quickly turn around our projects, we quickly turn around our service delivery. So the next slide is just some curves to show us how we are performing over time. You can see the budgetary allocation has improved over time since 2019 to 2020. The only time we went down was 2024, 2025. This was a challenge of revenue collection in the country. So we have to limit even the physical space that is coming from our development partners. But it's a growth that is moving on. If you can see the other one on your right, you will see WSP revenue turnover has improved over time from 2014 all the way to 2023, 2024, and is going up. So this is an indication that this sector, because we have reformed, we have got all the plans that we need. We have got the laws, we have got the legislation, we have the regulations, we have got the financing plan, we have got the water sector climate financing plan. We have got strategies. So it's a sector that is ready for growth, a sector that is ready to move up and serve the people of Kenya. So when you move to the next slide, we are giving a figure, a presentation on the funding of the sector. The funding of the sector depends on the development partners that we borrow money from. So this is government money that we have gotten from these development partners. We have projects that is close to 300 305 billion ongoing. Some are starting, some are nearing completion. So we have projects from supported by the Italy government, Italian Cooperation Development. We have projects supported by Belgium. We have projects supported by KfW, that is Germany. We have projects supported by Africa, by French, that is AFD. You can see the figures on those bars, and those are their contribution. The World Bank, Africa Development Bank, things like that. Then the programs, you can move to the next slide because that has been seen. The next slide here is just an overview of projects that are going on, projects that are close to 305 billion. So from Africa Development Bank, we have those projects that are going on. Kenya Towns, we are nearing completion. We have projects like Nairobi Rivers Rehabilitation. This is the one that is assisting us on improving sewerage connection so that we don't have sewage pouring on the roads and polluting our rivers. We have Thwake Multipurpose Dam, almost 94%. We are starting National Urban Water Supply and Sanitation Program supported by AFD, but we're also having some components being supported by OVID, being supported by Danida, and being supported by Asian Investment Fund. Then under World Bank, we have got those projects that are going on. They are almost getting completed, but we have got one called Kenya Water and Sanitation Hygiene program that is just starting. And of course, we have got Mwache Dam that is also going on, that is now at 76%. A rapid improvement that the PS and the team coordinates daily activities so that we turn around this project. So when we look over this project, we found it at 30%. In 6 months, we are at 76%, until we have now exhausted the budget. So now we are requesting for additional financing so that we complete this project on schedule. We have got AFD supporting us on those projects. We have got KfW supporting us on those projects. So the next slide, you will see additional projects. Italian Dam, the rehabilitation of Kirandich, Kiambere, supported by the Italian government. European Union supporting ending drought. Danida supporting also sustainable management. They are supporting us in Gidunguri, Thika water project. Belgium supporting us in Idanga, and Koika supporting us in Chwele, and we have got now moving to Koika 3. Because we started with the 1, we have moved to 2, we have moved to 3 because of our efficiency in implementing these projects. The next slide is our key challenges. This is my last slide. The next slide is challenges that we have. We have got high cost of resettlement action plan. The cost of land has become very expensive, and therefore we are now solving this problem by prioritizing land that belongs to the government. We are now counting land as part of the activity and including it on the donor funding. The energy cost is so high, so we are adopting renewable energy sources, including solarization. 80% of our OPEX is on energy. Non-revenue water is a challenge, and we are now building capacities of the WSPs. We have done 9 WSPs. We are moving on, and we are asking on adoption of technology so that we can reduce non-revenue water to acceptable levels. Inefficiencies at water service provision levels, here is fixing governance is key. Having these institutions to have a reliable and a stable framework so that they can operate professionally and provide services. We're also having a challenge of delayed investments. So most of our projects were started some time back, but they have not been started. They have not been implemented. We started formulating them some time back, but they have not been implemented. So you can find we are talking about a project like dams, but on the ground, they are not yet there. Thank you so much. That is our presentation.
Thank you. I don't know who is next. We invite Mr. Kizito Wangalwa from the county government, from the COG. Bwana Wangalwa.
Mr. Ongalo, are you on mute?
So we can't hear you. You're on mute. Mr. Kizito, can you hear us? We can't hear you. Mr. Kizito, we can't hear you. Perhaps just check your volume,
Can you hear me
please.
now? Hear me now? Hear me now?
Yes.
Hear me now?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I want to acknowledge the presence of the head of public service, the PS, and all colleagues, both from the national government and the county governments, led by the respective county executive committee members. I will reduce the time that was provided for me because part of the context has already been provided by the preceding speakers. And I want to confirm that we align particularly with the statement of the head of public service in terms of wanting to improve the outcomes that the water sector contributes to the overall development of this country. And some of the challenges that are therein that we need to focus on. So to begin with, just a brief background that the Council of Governors is a statutory organization that is embedded within the Intergovernmental Relations Act, and it brings together the 47 governors. Can we progress the slide, please? I think it was where it's supposed to be. Somebody has brought it back.
Put
Some
it in
support for
presentation mode.
progressing the slides, please.
Can somebody convert it first to presentation mode and then advance it through move? Yeah.
Whoever is supporting the... Yes, thank you. So we just plugged out 3 things out of the mandate of the Council of Governors that provide an opportunity for us then to support the delivery of the water sector, that the Council is an organ that provides an opportunity to bring together all the county governments. And through that, we share a lot of information on the performance of the counties. And also we facilitate capacity building for governors and their teams. We review a lot of issues with regard to policy, legislation, and also administrative actions that are required by the county governments to ensure that the water service provision is undertaken. The council, going to the next slide, please. I'll skip the next one and move to the next. The council has a basic structure that includes the council itself, and then it is organized in committees. Currently, we have 18 committees, one of which is the committee responsible for water and natural resource management. And then we have the secretariat that on a day-to-day basis supports the activities of the Council of Governors. And apologies for the CEO of the council who is missing this meeting because she's on compassionate leave. The Water and Natural Resource Management Committee, currently headed by Governor of Laikipia, considers all the matters, just move to the next please, all the matters with regard to the water sector, aligned perfectly with Vision 2030, with the Constitution of Kenya, and the entire legal framework that obtains within the water sector. Now, in addition to that, we do not just convene the governors in the water sector. We also convene the caucuses of the county executive committee members who have their leadership also on this ball. We have the caucus of the county chief officers, and we have the caucus of the county directors. And through that organ, we are able to process a lot of conversations and prepare technical working groups that help us to discharge all the matters within the framework of provision of water services. Now, please progress the slide. So we cluster our interventions basically into 4 areas: the policy and legislative support, and a lot of discussion has been made with regard to this. And ahead of public service, I want to confirm that yes, we have had a lot of discussions around the policy and legal issues in the sector, and there are still residual matters that need to be considered within that. The Water Act as is requires quite some reform to be able to align with the current structure of government, where we have the 2 levels of government. Secondly, on capacity building and technical assistance, the Council, as I mentioned earlier, provides an opportunity where we are able to engage with the national government and the ministry and the partners to be able to learn and also do program preparation as part of the resource mobilization and financing framework. And finally, we do a lot of follow-up with the county governments and do periodic reporting on the status of the water sector generally. Next slide, please. So I have already alluded to that framework where we have the caucuses of the different organs within the county governments. Proceed, please. Now, on the policy and legal framework, I have mentioned there are residual matters that we would wish that as we have this conversation, we again reflect back on some of the structural things that impede seamless delivery of the water services. The sector is quite complex. There are very many agencies at national level, and the mechanism with which then we engage the county level systems and the national level systems, we are progressing well because we right now have an intergovernmental framework that has been approved and is working, but we can still do better by activating it and making it really functional and working to the benefit of the citizen. Part of the issues within the policy and legal framework that are still pending are, for example, the water sector, the water service providers have assets that have not been transferred to them, and therefore that is a residual matter that needs to be dealt with because the water service providers cannot fully engage and confirm their asset base because the water service boards and some of the water service development authorities still hold the assets in their name, and they are not assets fully transferred to the water service providers. On the national program that we jointly developed with the national government, I must confirm that this is one of the initiatives. Just proceed with the slides, please. One of the initiatives that has anchored the relationship between the national government and the county governments. The coverage levels that Mr. Lima, Engineer Lima has presented are not very, very encouraging. I think we can do better. the sewerage coverage, the water coverage, sanitation coverage, the coverage of the prevalence of non-revenue water are still very high. And those are things that we must therefore deliberately prioritize jointly and work on, because every county has a unique parameter in all these variables that we are looking at. And if we need to move the whole country to 100% coverage, I think each of the counties must independently work on the framework of moving that to 100%. Now, to move that coverage, please just move. From the last State of Devolution Address, which was done last year, we note that 37 counties have distinct water laws of the county government. 23 counties have developed water master plans. 19 counties have developed water and sanitation strategies and investment plans. We have 95 water service providers and very many other water agencies or water providers that might not be on the radar of the Water Regulatory Authority. So this is also another issue that we need to look at, because there are very many agencies of government doing water services. We have the regional development authorities developing water services. They may not be on this call. We have other, even CDF sometimes implements water projects. We have institutional water schemes that exist, and therefore we need to bring onto the radar each and every provider, legally mandated or otherwise, onto the radar, so that we have a comprehensive outlook on who is doing water service provision and whether that then can be aligned with the constitutional mandate provided or within our constitution. Next slide, please. So some of the ongoing interventions that are happening within the counties on account of the incidence of low sanitation coverage, the domestication of the national sanitation policy is progressing fairly well, in spite of the funding gaps that are experienced by a majority of the counties. The harmonization of sector plans. Head of Public Service, you will note that yes, we are developing the county water and sanitation strategies and investment plans. These are anchored in the Water Act. However, the framework of county planning, the basic anchor is the County Governments Act. And therefore, we also need to step back and ask ourselves how these frameworks that we have distributed along other laws really feed into the CIDP and the County Government Act. Otherwise, you find the county water and sanitation strategies and investment plans sometimes being considered as almost independent, and unless they are sitting within the county integrated development plan framework, then the financing becomes a huge challenge, and we have to resort to the external agencies to finance the county water and sanitation investment plans. The technical and financial resources required to push the sector to the desired levels are huge, and that's another conversation that we need to work on to ensure that the financing framework is county specific and takes account of the disparity, the differences within the urban and the rural and the sparsely populated areas, especially within the ASALs. On the non-revenue water, Engineer Alima has already alluded to that, and there are significant investments towards non-revenue water resolution in the counties. And the last one, I also have alluded to that there is significantly low water coverage within the rural areas, which again, the county governments are doing investments towards operationalizing initiatives that then bridge the gap in access to water. Next slide, please. The next slide, please. Yes, the other issues that are significant is the issues of the water bills, the diversification of the funding sources for the county governments, leveraging on private and commercial financing. This Head of Public Service is an initiative that is embedded within the Water Act, but the uptake of PPPs by county government agencies, the water service providers, has not moved well. Basically because of the asset issues and the books of accounts of the water service providers that are not comprehensive enough to embed injection of private capital in developing of these water schemes and delivering water. And of course, now that is also closely linked with the very high cost of operating the water schemes currently, which again is something that we must be able to address ourselves to. Coming to the last two slides, just move on, please. We would like, therefore, that we strengthen the capacity of the water county departments and the water service providers as a critical mechanism of ensuring that access to water is assured. The water service providers are ultimately the agencies that the citizen looks up to ensure that they have water within a reasonable distance. So we must therefore support every mechanism that makes the water service providers independent organs of the county governments to provide the water services. We would also want to leverage on ensuring that each county government looks at a mechanism for annual reporting. I don't think we have done that very well. Currently we use studies, we use surveys, we use occasional reporting mechanisms. But this does not present a holistic picture, which we would be looking forward to then looking at what mechanisms do the county governments have to do their reporting. I am happy to report that through another program, the county governments are developing GIS-based laboratories, each of the 47 county governments. Some are already functional and therefore are able to start generating data as they occur. But we are looking forward to how we can embed the water service providers within the GIS laboratories that are being developed through the general support of the land governance system to ensure that we have data on a very short notice. We can get data that is verifiable by any agency and specifically the national government. Finally, on that, we need again to improve on the mechanisms of financing. The projects that are being financed at the national level do not necessarily cover the spread of the county governments, do not necessarily cover the county governments that are most in need. And therefore, we would like to ensure that as we prepare programs at national level, then the input of the county governments is a requirement. We prepare these projects with their abilities to co-finance, because some of the projects we require county governments to put in some resources that they may not be having. So in terms of the planning framework and the budgeting framework, I think we can do better so that we make sure that we maximize on the capabilities of all the county governments. The next slide, please. Yes. I have already spoken to the issue of the PPPs, and that is something that we would want also to develop very clear guidelines to the county governments on how they can utilize the PPPs. They are working very well at mega projects at national level, but at the county level, that is not something that we have embedded, and we would really want to work on that. So in a nutshell, I must commend the convening of this meeting. It is an opportunity for us to look at the entire system and review the system so that the county governments play the critical role that they have been provided by the Constitution to ensure that the last mile connectivity to water services is being undertaken well. We had, of course, some review in the Water Act that made it possible for water agencies, national water agencies, to become water providers. And those are some of the things that we must step back and ask ourselves, are we doing temporary solutions through legislative review, or do we really want the system to work and the county governments as responsible duty bearers in the provision of water services? I want to stop there and thank you for listening to me. And on behalf of the county governments and the Council of Governors, I really want to thank Head of Public Service for convening this and for the good work that has been put together to bring all the partners together. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kizito Wangalwa, for that wonderful presentation that you have just done. So colleagues, before we go to the highlights of the Zero Fault Audit campaign, allow me just to remind us that number one, we are expected to continue asking questions on the Q&A platform that is available. We are currently seeing only a few questions being raised. So please continue interacting with us by raising any question that you might have. Then for those of us who have logged in as we progress, we promise that after this session, we'll be able to share all the materials that have been used for this training. We also encourage you to go back and rewatch this video because it's currently on YouTube live, but we'll also blast it as an email together with all these materials so that you can have time and look at them and reread them and listen, especially to the speech that was given by our chief guest, who is the Head of Public Service and Chief of Staff. So colleagues, we are supposed to discuss about the highlights of the ongoing Zero Fault Audit campaign, which is basically a campaign that was started by the Head of Public Service in September 2023. So if we look at slide 1, we are currently on the 3rd year of its implementation. And towards this journey, we have been able to achieve significant gains in as far as addressing matters that deal with audit are concerned. We have been able to also see an improvement on matters that deal with accountability, transparency, and the way that we are able to use and manage our public resources. So this campaign is basically a proactive approach that requires us to always observe the law, observe all circulars, all regulations, in as far as the use of public resources is concerned, whether it's financial resources, whether it's human resources, among others. So in slide 2, we see that it simply entails conforming with those circulars. Then it is a continuous improvement of performance process. We want institutions, especially these ones that are in the water sector, to relook at their audit performance over the last number of years, ensure that you are able to address all audit queries that you have received, whether it's from the internal auditor or from the external auditor, and then make a commitment that going forward, you will be able to operate in a manner that does not result in any loss of public funds. Colleagues, I remind you that all this literature on the circulars, on the directives that have been given by the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service since the start of this campaign are available on the website of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service. So if you go to that website, you look at the section at the tab under audit, you will be able to see that all the materials have been uploaded there. It will basically give you a documented process on when this campaign started, what are the key tenets of the campaign, including that requirement that we do not attract any audit query. And then in case we anticipate to attract an audit query, we are all able to quickly resolve and implement the recommendations that we have been given. In the next slide, in slide 3, it basically speaks to the issues that the Auditor General usually picks out whenever they audit our books. Issues to do with weak documentation, issues to do with delayed responses to audit queries, issues to do with incomplete or outdated asset registers, and issues to do with weak internal audit, and issues to do with weak internal controls in field office and cost centers, especially for those that have offices either at the headquarters and also at the county level. So again, I reiterate that this campaign focuses on preventive. We want you to adopt that culture of preventing audit issues rather than having a situation where we are able to react once the audit issues have occurred. On the next slide, dear participants, we look at the different audit opinions that have been given there, and our aim and the aim of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service is to ensure that each institution achieves a clean audit report. And achieving a clean audit report simply means that your financial statements prevent a true and fair view and comply with financial regulations. Of course, there are those other 3 opinions there which we should not be finding ourselves in those opinions. So we want you to improve and ensure that you achieve unqualified audit opinion, which are clean audit opinion. And that is an indicator that your institution is having strong financial management and is complying with all laws, all circulars, all policies, and any other provision that is in the Public Finance Management Act, together with the attendant regulations. On the next slide, we see that for us to achieve this zero-fault audit campaign, we need to ensure that our internal systems are strengthened. We need to strengthen all our internal control, and we must at all times be audit ready. So what do we mean by being audit ready? We are required to ensure that we have robust internal control system across all our functions. We are required to ensure that we revitalize and re-energize the internal audit function, especially on the State Department and on the different institutions that fall within the State Department. Make sure you have a Public Finance Management Standing Committee that is functioning, that is able to look at the reports that are sent to it by the internal audit on a quarterly basis and ensure that those recommendations are implemented. We also need to ensure that we have proper documentation and record keeping at all times. We need to conduct regular internal audits and risk assessments. But most importantly, it's also to build the capacity of our staff on compliance and audit procedures. As you're going to look on the last slide, which is the fact that each and every person has a responsibility in ensuring that we achieve zero-fault audit. Next slide. The next one. This one. So every staff, every member has a role on matters in achieving ZFA. It begins at the top where the leadership, the principal secretary, the accounting officers at the different public entities within the State Department of Water and Sanitation needs to set the right tone. The tone at the top matters the most. So at the leadership level, please set the right tone, including the standards for accountability and compliance across your organization. Then you also need to remember for each staff that achieving the zero-fault audit campaign, or rather the zero-fault audit status, is dependent on the audit outcomes that are shaped by daily actions of every staff member. So whether you are a driver, whether you work at the registry office, whether you're at the help desk, just know that each and every action that you do on a daily basis will ultimately contribute to whether your institution will get a clean or bad audit report. For example, if you purchase things and you are not able to properly document the receipt, etc., then when the auditor comes to your institution and requires you to show evidence of a certain procurement process, you will not be in a position to showcase the same, and thereby you'll put your institution in a situation where they will miss out on the clean audit reports. Each and every staff also has a role of ensuring that they keep in participating in accurate record keeping. That is an individual responsibility, as we have said. We also need to remember that internal controls are effective only when consistently applied by all. So for our State Department, if it has established certain internal controls, where our public entities have also established certain internal controls, each and every staff should consistently ensure that they abide by these internal controls, and by so doing, they will be able to assist their institution in attracting clean audit reports. We also need to ensure that risks that originate at operational level, where staff work directly, are also mitigated. So break this down, look at your departmental level, look at your operational level, what it is you are doing. Be able to minimize the risk associated with that so that it does not ultimately build into something that will appear in our reports as bad audit opinion. Participants, I also remind you that compliance is a shared responsibility. It's not limited to audit or financial teams. I think in the past, we have been associating these matters to do with audit with people who work in the finance or accounting team. But the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service is telling us that each and every staff within an organization has a role. It's a shared responsibility. Whether you work in communication, whether you work in procurement, or whether you work in any other department, remember that you have a responsibility in ensuring that we have clean audit reports. And then lastly, this is also a collective effort. Collective effort ensures accountability and eliminates audit surprises. Again, the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service has been consistent throughout this journey that you need to be prepared in a manner that does not make you find yourself where you are surprised. You should not be surprised, but rather you should be able to be prepared enough so that you do not find yourselves being surprised by the audit findings of your institution. I think that is it for the ongoing Zero Fault Audit campaign, and we will continuously sensitize, we'll continuously communicate, and we shall continuously train so that ultimately all the listed public entities within the water and sanitation State Department achieve clean audit reports, and that will be an indicator that we are managing our resources in a prudent, effective, and we do not have situations where public entities lose public funds. That is it for now. As I've mentioned, all these materials that touch on the Zero Fault Audit campaign are available. We have been keen on documenting this journey from the date that it started all the way. So when you visit that website of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service, you will be able to identify and pick out all the materials, including the circulars and any other presentation that has been made to that end. With that, I thank you and I return back to the moderator.
I think, Linda, you are muted.
Somalo, unmute, please.
Thank you, PS. Our moderator during this time is our colleague.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Linda, for the opportunity. The head and the Office of Head of Public Service and our PS who is in here. Allow me stand on the established protocol earlier on in this webinar. I take this opportunity to moderate this panel And I want to first of all introduce the panelists and welcome them for this particular session. And first, I want to welcome Mr. Brandon Mwandawiro, the chairperson of Chief CCM for Water Caucus and CCM for Taita Taveta. Welcome to this particular session. Our second panelist is the CEO for WASREP, that is Mr. Richard Cheruiyot. Please welcome to this particular panel. And our third panelist is Engineer Joseph Kamau, the CEO for Athi Waterworks Development Agency. Please welcome, Engineer. The fourth panelist of this session is Anthony Charamba, that's the CEO, Water Service Providers Association, WASPA. And finally, we have got the chair, the chairperson, Water Resource Authority, Mr. Donald K. Murgo. Welcome our panelists, and taking cue from the presentations that have been made in this particular session, we will allow each one of you at least 3 minutes to delve into today's topic and the matter at hand. First, let me allow with the help of our ICT, maybe we allow the panelists at least to turn on their cameras so that they can be recognized. That is Richard Cheruiyot. Please welcome. Just to respond, and each of our panelists will at least have 3 minutes to shed light on today's issue as discussed in this particular webinar. First, I want to pose a question to our CCM from Taita Taveta and the chairperson of CCM Caucus, that is Brandon Mwandawiro. And my question goes, taking cue from the institutional framework that has been established, and Engineer Lima spoke about it. What is this that the Council of Governors and counties have put in place to enhance the functionality of the existing institutional framework to afford the Kenyan public reliable water service and revitalizing the efficient water service delivery across the country and in our jurisdictions? Welcome, Nasisi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wamalwa. And I wish to also ride on the protocol already established and thank the head of public service and the PS for being in this call. One, just straight to your question and how as a COG we are working to enhance coordination. I remember, I think it was in the devolution conference at Eldoret, was in Gishu County, where the Council of Governors established and created a framework for coordination within the water sector. And as counties who are directly charged with the aspect of water service provision, this is something that we really value, and we hope, in line with the Constitution and areas of constitutionalism, that this aspect of coordination and collaboration will be enhanced. We appreciate the fact that water service provision is a devolved function, and as counties, we are up to the task of conducting that service. And we are able and capable of doing that. And what we really do request is that such meetings, such coordination, such collaboration should be encouraged. And we build on the we build on or work on the resolutions of such meetings. Key requests maybe from all the counties is that as counties, we should be able to take lead, and we are capable of taking lead when it comes to matters universal coverage. As we establish these strategies in water or universal water coverage, of importance is having water strategies at county level. Each and every county should be having a water strategy. And that is an area of collaboration and support that the national government can help the counties establish. Once the water strategies are established at county level, then universal water coverage can be and will be achieved. To enhance strength or enhance revenue collection by our water service providers, one of the biggest cost driver is electricity. Street lights have their own electricity tariff. We request that also for water service providers, that if we have a specific tariff that is for water service provision, that will create stability and reduce one of the biggest cost drivers for the water service providers. Collaboration and coordination is very effective and it is dire. But for that to happen, we should establish who should be taking lead when it comes to these matters of collaboration. We believe that CCMs through the governors at county level are the ones who are supposed to take lead in this, and that will reduce duplicities within our areas. I just finished by giving one example at this county level or for my county. We as a county had already did a water plan of a capacity of around 10,000 cubic, which has never dried. But when you move around 200 meters, and that is duplicated everywhere within the county, you'll find national agencies doing the same. And it is unfortunate that we've done maybe a water pan, a few meters ahead, you'll find a borehole, and it is unfortunate that that borehole was saline. If that investment was integrated with the system that we've already done to just do some purification and extension, then we would have had some good results. So as counties, we welcome these engagements. We hope for more engagements physically so that we can have we can talk together and engage and enhance or achieve universal coverage. From the boots on the ground, we confirm and we are sure that yes, universal coverage can be achieved, but it can only be achieved if counties through the governors and respective CCMs in charge of water take lead in this matter. Thank you, Bwana Moderator.
Thank you, CCM. And indeed, collaboration and establishing institutional framework that guarantees efficient universal water service provision is key to us, and as we've alluded to. And now that one leads us to the next panelist, that is Wasrem, and to my colleague, Richard Cheriot. Having heard what the CCM has spoken about and universal water service provision, and based on this webinar today, improving water service provision and reliability, we need to revitalize the efficient public service. And this speaks to the efficient service delivery and industry standards. What is this that your institution is undertaking to ensure that we meet this particular noble goal in the country and in the sector?
Cheriot, you're muted.
See you seem you are muted. We can't hear you. See you.
Bwana Richard Cheriot, can you hear us?
Seems
Mr.
Richard has some hitch. Perhaps we give him time to sort out as we move to the next panelist. Please, Richard, let's give you time so that you organize. Let's move to the next panelist, that is Water Resource Authority. Water Resource Authority actually plays a critical role in water service provision. And having listened to this forum, you may understand that within your mandate, all other agencies that are here and Waterworks and the counties rely on you on water availability. And to this end, what is your agency doing to ensure that there is a balanced level of utilization of water resources within the country and within the basins that you serve?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. That's a good question. As Water Resources Authority, first and foremost, I want to tell all the participants here that Water Resources Authority is spread across the country. We have 33 offices, including our head office here in Nairobi. There are 6 regional offices and 26 sub-regional offices in the whole country. Our mandate, as per the Section 11 of the Water Act, is to regulate the use and of our water resources across the country. One of our critical role is actually conservation of the water resources. You know, water does not come from the tap. Many Kenyans think you just open your tap and you get your water resource. No, there is conservation of the water resource from the catchment point of view. And at the lowest level of our interception is what we call the RUAs. The RUAs are the people who will manage our water resources at the low level, ensure that the catchment areas are preserved and water will be available to every Kenyan. So this approach is very, very critical. And since our inception, since 2017, we have also embraced technology through the upgrading of water resources monitoring networks for both the surface and groundwater into what we call telemetry stations. The stations collect and log water monitoring data and transmit the same to a server at the head office here in Nairobi. And this is in real-time basis. So far, we have 159 telemetric stations, 72 being surface water, 56 climatic, and 31 groundwater, which are all spread across the country. WRA has also introduced what we call smart metering of water abstraction points to provide accurate and near real-time data on abstraction. You know, if we don't rationalize the abstraction, people downstream may not get enough water. And as we now talk about moving to Singapore, you know, many Kenyans think when we talk about going to Singapore, people rush to get passports to hop into a plane and go to Singapore. No, it is about what can we give Wanjiku that is similar to what is offered in Singapore. You remember Singapore started with us, but they are now advancing in terms of technology, in terms of everything. So that is what we are urging Kenyans. Let us give Wanjiku what it deserves. If it is water abstraction, it should be done and distributed to every person. Of course, as we move towards Singapore, we have the challenges as WRA, and one of it is we have an optimal staff establishment of about 825 officers, comprising 435 technical and 389 shared services. But the current impost is that we have 602 staff, 259 technical, and 343 shared services. So majority of the technical staff were inherited from our mother ministry following the water sector reforms after the Water Act of 2002, which is now repealed. The staff are retiring in large numbers, leaving the technical function critically understaffed. So if we soon move to 70-30 and technical is 70%, then we will be able to offer our services optimally. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair, for highlighting that. Indeed, enhancing service delivery through new technologies and automation is what you have mentioned. And abstraction from the catchment. This one brings us to the question on the infrastructure that is being built by the waterworks development agencies across the country. And in a nutshell, my brother and CEO for Earth Waterworks Development Agency, I want to welcome you to this panel and shed light to what, and of course, you're speaking on behalf of other waterworks development agencies in this panel, in this webinar. What is this that the Earth Waterworks Development Agencies or waterworks development agencies in the country are doing to relay water from the different watersheds, different catchments across to different counties, such that we deliver an infrastructure that really withstands the current day development requirements? Welcome, Engineer Joseph.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Head of Public Service, our Principal Secretary and colleagues. Joseph Kamau, Chief Executive Officer at the Waterworks. And I would say the Waterworks is one of the 9 agencies which are responsible for developing water and sanitation infrastructure throughout the country. Our area is around the Nairobi metropolitan counties. We serve a population of about 9 million people. We are presently, as directed, operating the bulk water services provision systems. And this is a system that includes managing, developing, maintenance, and operations of the national public waterworks as developed by the national government. Presently, we operate the Karimeno 2 dam system and the Nairobi Northern Collector system. And since the inception, we've managed to supply to the Nairobi metropolitan region a total of 17 billion liters of water for the communities. We have challenges on revenue collection. We are approximately 51% revenue collection efficiency. And because of that, in order to enhance revenue collection, we've adopted the whole of government approach and engaged the Kenya Revenue Authority to collect revenue, to be our agent in collection of revenue, bulk water revenues. We anticipate that because Kenya Power, that is the accommodate, we shall achieve revenue collection efficiency of about 80%. To ensure that the bulk systems operate effectively, we require the instrument that is required, called the Bulk Water Purchase Agreement, to be signed between the bulk water service provider and the off-taker. And this is where we've seen the whole of government through support from our Principal Secretary, Cabinet Secretary, the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, the Council of Governors, and the county government in trying to ensure that this instrument is closed so that we can operate the bulk water system sustainably. The bulk water systems have, as required by water sector regulations, regulatory board have a non-revenue water level of about 5%, and we've as Adi Water achieved these targets, and we shall continue endeavoring to provide this as a target that can be achieved. So really, as the Water Secretary reported, the targets for non-revenue water remains achievable. On the other aspect of sanitation, we've expanded sanitation systems coverage for our urban areas within the Nairobi metropolitan area to approximately over 60%. And with the current interventions by the national government, we expect that one to be upwards of 66 in the intervening period in the next few years. We are implementing various projects, the flagship one being the national urban, which will essentially cover the whole of the country, and we expect to improve services delivery to various communities throughout the whole country. I've seen the presentations of the CEC and those are agencies. We are adopting inclusive approach, working in collaboration with the water service providers, the counties, and all other agencies to ensure that water services are provided to our citizens efficiently and Head of Public Service and PS, I submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer. And we are remaining with the two panelists, and each of you will have at least 2 minutes, and please keep to time. I think now our colleague Richard Cheriot, you are clear, and we are back to our question.
You can hear me?
Yes,
can you hear me?
Engineer.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you. Please proceed.
Maybe, Jill, you can go back to the question, then I can come in with the response, please.
Taking you from the webinar today, improving water service reliability and revitalizing an efficient service delivery and industry standards critical for us to meet the industry and sector objectives. What is this that you are undertaking in your agency to ensure that we meet this particular objective?
Thank you very much. And like I said, and my apologies that I had sound challenges initially. The journey for us, like we are saying, to the first world status is really out of the vision that we have as a Vision 2030. So it's not really anything out of the blues. We basically live it to the vision that we have set for ourselves. If you look at this and what the vision really says, it's looking at a better quality of life for all of us. And that is, in the water context, is also aligned to the Sustainable Development Goals that look at that this water should be available, should meet quality standards. It should actually be able to, be available when needed, which are basically the things that the Head of Public Service spoke to earlier. As was said, and looking at the institutional framework that was presented by Engineer Lima, and I need to say here that we've been lauded as a country as having the most progressive institutional framework. I talk of this because we belong to an African-wide association of regulators, and the institutional framework that we established more than 20 years ago has been lauded as the most progressive in the sense that there's clarity in terms of the mandate for the different actors, and that clarity in mandate really ensures that we are accountable for the mandates that are given to us. So as was said, and we've spoken to the issue of the right under the Constitution, Article 43 B and D, the custodian of that right on behalf of the Kenyan citizens is really the regulator. So in our efforts to ensure that all the actors live to this, we continually track sector performance and I'm happy that the report we release annually has been a point of reference by all the actors. Our vision is to ensure that, like we are saying, the data that is there is credible, and that we're able to give a holistic picture in terms of how the country looks like. One of the issues that we're also looking at, and appreciating that financing is one of the challenges that is faced by the sector, is trying to explore these other options in terms of financing mechanisms. I'm happy that we had the recent amendments to the Water Act that gave the waterworks development agencies powers to be able to be bulk suppliers, with a vision that we can now leverage on financing, especially through the National Infrastructure Fund, to be able to enhance financing that gets to the sector. We've talked about PPPs, but PPPs can only be viable if we have utilities that are efficient and that are really have good performance. Mr. Gizito presented basically the enabling environment that the counties are put in place in terms of the water laws, in terms of the county water services strategies. What we're doing as WASREP is really trying to ensure that that enabling environment is there to be able to open up financing to the sector outside the traditional financing mechanisms, the three T's that we normally say: taxes, transfers, and tariffs, to also look at PPPs. But one critical issue, Joel, that we need to all agree is that the reforms in the sector that we had preceded the bigger, reforms that we had in terms of governance that brought in devolution. Just giving credence to the fact that this is the way to go in terms of the way we need to manage our services. But then critical in this aspect is also to leverage on internally generated revenues by the water service providers. And if you look at the National Water and Sanitation Investment Plan, we earmark that we would actually be able to raise about 10% of revenues out of consumer tariffs. But this can only be feasible if utilities are run efficiently. We can't allow the level of inefficiencies that we are seeing currently. So as we get to, get into 2030, I think the rallying call from us is for us to be able to do what they need to do. And you see, when I looked at, when you say the journey to Singapore, and as I close on this, in practical terms, it's about a 10-hour flight. But that 10-hour flight may look like it is not possible. But if each one of us is able to do what they are supposed to do, and linking back to what we really have under that hummingbird story that is a favorite for all of us, let's do what we need to do. And cumulatively, we should be able to get to what we have as the shared goals for the sector. I thank you.
Thank you, CEO, for that wonderful submission. Indeed, everyone has to do what he ought to do. And that one brings us up to the last panelist, Water Service Provider, WASPA Chair. And the critical question here that comes to everyone's mind in this particular webinar is high non-revenue water. And in everyone's submission has been weak maintenance culture, inconsistent service delivery, and poor enforcement. What are you doing as the chair of Water Service Providers Association to ensure that you help us meet the industry aspiration?
Thank you. I'm actually the CEO, not the chair. Point of correction.
Okay.
WASPA brings together all the WSPs in this country. So far, we have 95. I think there are 2 that are on the way being licensed by WASREP. So on top of that, we have members that come from other, what you call associate members, people who are stakeholders in the sector, in the industry, in the water sector. We also have now financial institutions that have gotten an interest and want to see what the water sector is all about. Mostly based on what most of the people have talked about. It's always unfortunate to speak last, but we'll delve straight into the NRW issue. It is not entirely true what has been said, but that is what mostly has been said and repeated oftenly, and it's almost becoming the truth. I'm very happy that the head of public service has given us opportunity to bring this conversation out here in the public. Number one, you'll be shocked that factors like energy play a very critical role, probably 15 to 20% of our 45% NRW. And I'll give you facts. I'm the immediate former MD of Mombasa Water, and our water bill, our Kenya Power bill from Baricho plant 5 years ago was around 42 million per month. Now it should be around 70. I know there is some solar business going on there. And comparably to our brothers from our country, where their schemes are majority and majorly on gravity, it is not comparable. So that means in the eastern side, from the Ukambani side going upward to northeastern and also the coast, mostly they have water probably 2 weeks accumulatively in a month. 2 weeks, because Kenya Power switches them off, and they have to talk to them, get some little money, pay, and so on and so forth. So one of the things that we've been talking about, and I like the new chair for COG Water Caucus has emphasized, we desperately need a dedicated tariff for the water sector. Ladies and gentlemen, water is life. All the industry in this country need water. Roads needs water, energy needs water, everybody needs water. If today you ask people if they want to be given all the things that we are saying we want to give them and not give them water, they'll tell you, no, give us water and take the others. So what are we saying? We are giving proposals here, not just to save that 15 to 20% of NRW, especially on the eastern side of the country. We are proposing the following. Just like the country has a dedicated tariff for street lights, which is around 7 shillings per kilowatt hour, give us a dedicated tariff for water. Similarly, we had even proposed to April that give us 10 shillings. Don't give us 7 bob, give us 10 shillings. That's number one. Number two, we have also proposed that legacy debts play a very big role in terms of NRW. How? You find a company that has old pipings and they want to change them. So they go to the bank, because we cannot always rely on donor funding. They go to the bank and the bank says, there's 300 million here that you need to write off your books. But that 300 million cannot be written off, because when the counties came, liabilities were transferred, but assets were not transferred. So that's a major issue. And we have said, we have write-off for coffee, we have write-off for tea, we have write-off for sugarcane farmers, we have write-off for many other people. Can we, head of public service, look at this very critically? Can we have write-off of legacy debts? Number three, what else is ailing the WSPs that we have issues with NRW? Coordination. And for this, I really want to thank the PS, Julius Corelli. He has been very, very personally getting involved into the bringing us together. So we are seeing there is more coordination now, and you'll see there will be efforts that will be going towards maybe in the next impact report. You start seeing other efforts. Maybe the NRW may not probably come down a lot because of the issue of that we've been having in Nairobi. But you can see now Nairobi has been brought into the aspect of intergovernmental coordination, and there will be impact probably in the next year as you see it. But as per now, that coordination needs to increase. I'll lastly say this, government support. And I'd like to ask all of you, we have seen large budgets for energy. We have seen large budgets for roads. We have seen large budgets for affordable housing. We have seen levies going to health, levies going to roads, levies going to railway. Why don't we have a part of those levies supporting the Ministry of Water? We're not saying we create another levy, but a part of it, because all those that you have mentioned need water. Affordable housing are coming up, but there is a challenge for them to get water. For them to get water, we need infrastructure support to the Ministry of Water. So we are saying as WSPs, let the budget for the Ministry of Water be increased. Let them get a bigger share than what they are getting now. And lastly, when is the last time we saw, for example, the presidency attending major water meetings. And it is such meetings like this one, that's why this is brilliant. We need to congratulate all the people behind this, from the head of public service. But now, when we have our annual meetings, for example, in June, can we have the president or the deputy attending? Can we have the head of public service attending, so they can be able to connect with us directly and be able to know what is possible for them to get directly from us? Thank you so much.
Thank you, CEO Najaramba, for that submission. Allow me at this particular juncture welcome. I welcome the CPA. We move to our plenary session, and let me give this opportunity to CPA Duncan Kacham to moderate that section such that we receive reactions from the plenary. I understand that there were already ground rules on how plenary will be conducted, and therefore members please adhere to that. Thank you. Welcome, CPA Duncan Kacham.
Thank you very much, moderator, for that wonderful job, and indeed to the presenters before who have also done an amazing job. One mentioned the journey to Singapore, and it's important we recognize institutions that are already leading the way. And just to report, in the State Department of Water and Sanitation, in the financial year 2023-2024, we had three institutions that were awarded for having attained clean audit reports. And these institutions, the first one was the Kenya Water Institute, the Water Sector Trust Fund, and also the Regional Center on Groundwater Resource Education, Training and Research Institute. So makofi sana, hongera for these institutions. What the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service is directing is that all these other institutions within the State Department, and indeed the State Department itself, should work towards attaining clean audit reports. Number two is to remind individuals who are seated in groups, please continue introducing yourself as group, but also ensure that you go to the Google platform and register, because at the end of the day, it's important to take stock of who attended the meeting before we can account for each and every one of us. Then we have been asking ourselves questions as regard to why in this particular engagement, the number of questions being raised by the participants are fewer, perhaps compared to the other engagements that you have had before. And you have been told this is because there's been a platform where the State Department continuously engages with the institutions under it. This is a good idea, and we would like to encourage you to continue doing the same in future. After this session is had, please, the State Department continue these sessions with your different institutions to ensure that these kind of issues are addressed at source, and we do not have a situation where many questions will be raised by the people who we ordinarily will fall under our ward. So now on the next section, which is the plenary, we want to take very few comments. Remember, these are comments, but not questions. For questions, please proceed and put them on the Q&A. But for comments, we are giving an opportunity to at least 5 individuals who will want to say something. And the general rule is that if you feel like you want to comment, kindly just raise your hand and we'll be able to give you that opportunity to say something. So currently, is there anyone? I can see Jacinta Nkoro. Any other person who will wish to say something, please proceed. I can see Victor Nyaga. Victor Nyaga, the floor is yours. Jacinta Nkoro. We have Johnson Musembi. Please say something if you are able. Kindly comment.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, loud and clear, Johnson Musembi.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Mine is to commend the ops for the efforts actually that is making to empower the internal auditors, and I would really thank him for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Johnson Musembi. Any other comment from the plenary? Please raise your hand and we'll give you that opportunity to say something. John Imoite. And then lastly, we can have Francis Kahua. Mr. John Imoite. Okay, I can see Samuel Mwangi as also. Sorry, John Imoite, please proceed.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Great. Thank you very much, Head of Public Services Office, colleagues. I just wanted to say something about the link between us as water agencies, national government for that matter, and counties. Like it was observed earlier, we've had situations where would have bulk water systems in place. This water is actually near the targeted consumers, but then the missing link becomes last mile connectivity. My appeal would just be that we find ways where water agencies would work seamlessly with county governments so that this service can be enhanced, so that, of course, we reach more and more people in our effort to provide these services. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John Imoite. I can see Samuel Mwangi Kibuti, and lastly, Francis Kahua. Samuel Mwangi Kibuti, if you can say something, kindly comment.
You can hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you. I want to greet everyone because of this forum. It's very, very informative. I come from Ruiru Juja Water. I'm a board of director. And I want to thank you very, very much because from the beginning I have followed up, and this is very, very important and informative. I hope every one of us will put everything into practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel Mwangi. Francis Kahuha.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this opportunity, the Head of Public Service and all protocols observed. My name is Francis Kahuha, the Managing Director at Githongori Water and Sanitation Company Limited in Kiambu County. Mine is to thank you for this interactive session, and it's quite informative. And maybe one point to note from the presentation made by the Head of Public Service, it was really quite interesting and insightful. And I was very keen to listen to the performance for resource management because currently at Githongori Water and Sanitation Companies, what we are implementing. In fact, when we want to do ROCO benchmarking, we can start with Githongori because we have already rolled out performance for resource management, a framework that we are learning from our Danish partners for a program that or a project that we are implementing together. Importantly is I looked at it on the flip side, that when we talk about performance for resorts and where a performance is not met, there is a more or less a punishment mechanism. We need also to look at it from the perspective that we also need to reward resorts. So as we look to pointing out the utilities or the areas that service is not being impactful, how we need also to look at how can we reward performance, because indeed we still have pockets of integrity, pockets of hard work, pockets of excellence in service delivery, and that needs to be recognized. Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Francis Kahuha. The very last is Davis Onyango, kindly. Davis Onyango, I can see you are unmuted. Please comment. Okay, so that we remain gender sensitive, I can see Dr. Rispa Berem as our last commenter, and then we go back to the moderator. Dr. Rispa Berem.
Thank you, sir. My name is Dr. Rispa Berem, Director of North Rift Valley Waterworks Agency from Eldoret. I want to commend HOPES and the entire coordinating team for this particular webinar. I think from the beginning I've attended most of the webinars, and I must say that this is very important because it's continuously capacity building us to be able to position ourselves for service delivery. And I must say this has been very resourceful, especially the dimension and approach you've taken to be sector specific so that you tackle issues facing specific sectors. So I must commend you, and I say thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rispa Berem. I can see the last one being Matilda Jebet, who was already unmuted. Please share your comments and then you go back to the moderator.
Thank you so much. My name is Matilda Chebet. Matilda is the General Secretary for the Water Services Workers Union. This is the union that represents workers in the water sector. Mine today is to first commend the Head of Public Service for this wonderful webinar, and that is bringing in everybody, including the staff in the water sector, and most importantly, the water service providers, where the majority of the workers in the water sector are coming from. I would like to maybe on the behalf of the workers who are also policy implementers in the sector and who really drive the real operations in the water sector, that we have challenges in the water sector and the main one is the issue coming from the perspective of the workers is the issue of casualization of employment in the water sector. We have a serious issue, and we would like the Head of Public Service to come and intervene for the workers in the water sector. HEWI is producing professionals, but at the end of the day, they end up being casual laborers in the sector for even 20 years. We need a correction of what is happening in the sector. We need players, including WASREP, to come in and ensure there is decency of employment in the water sector. Other challenges, we will do it, but we believe that when the worker is happy and managed well, water sector services will be improved. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Matilda. Just to remind us that all these presentations that have been done today, all the materials will be shared via the emails that we used for registering to attend this session. And that includes even the speech that was given by our chief guest, who is the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service. We also encourage you to check on the socials, to visit the YouTube page, to visit the Facebook page, Twitter, etc., but also to visit the website of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service, where all this reform journey has been documented, not only on matters to do with audit, but also other areas that have been a key focus for our chief guest, who is the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service. And with that, I now invite our moderator.
Thank you very much.
Sorry. Just a reminder again, for the pictures, we continue to encourage you to please share the photos. We want to see how different attendees or participants rather attended this virtual. So please take as many photos as possible and share them with us. Thank you very much. Welcome now, our moderator.
Thank you, CPA Duncan, for that plenary session. Now, from the plenary session, I want to sum it up. We have done indeed well, and out of this, we can highlight 3 critical issues that have come up. That's operational and performance issues, governance and accountability, And also we've got policy and legal frameworks that we ought to work on to ensure that to enhance water service provision. At this juncture, let me take this opportunity to welcome our Principal Secretary, Mr. Julius Correal, to make his remark, then welcome our Head of Public Service. Welcome and thank you once again for the opportunity to moderate this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Bwana Joel. I think it's been a great webinar, and I want to thank all of us for this. So Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, the chairpersons who are here with us today in the water sector, the CEOs, the board of directors from the water sector agencies, the CECMs, the COG fraternity, and all the staff within the water sector. I want to thank all of you for sitting in through. I've been monitoring the numbers, and I think the highest we went was around 1,900. And I think that, I'm told, has been the best performance so far. One of the key features which we've also noticed is that people were participating in groups. Others were sitting in boardrooms, others were sitting in staff and sharing a device. And I think the highest came from, I thought I saw Tarakanidhi Water and Services Company, where they had over 20 staff seated in a room sharing a device so that they could listen in. Within the national agencies, WRA, I've seen also in the State Department, I've seen Tana Water, I've seen Kewi, I've seen Athi Water, and everybody else. I think this is a very good demonstration of our seriousness as a sector. So I want to thank the CCMs for mobilizing and compelling their staff to attend this event. I also want to thank the CEOs for ensuring that their staff have had a good turnout, and also want to thank the COG for coordinating with the counties and ensuring that they participate. In particular, I want to thank the CEO, Mary Mwiti. Unfortunately, I'm told she is bereaved. And on behalf of the rest of us, we want to send our condolences to her and her family during these difficult times, that may she and her family be comforted by God as they mourn the loss of their loved one. So we really want to thank everyone for this. Sir, I just want to read a small statement which will sort of sum up what we've been discussing, highlight the challenges, and also bring out some of the things that we feel are very important for this event. And so, again, COS, that is Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, we want to thank you for this very innovative way of reaching out to the public service. I think this is for the first time. I've been around for a while, and we've never had such a sitting where the Head of Public Service have a program that is targeting revitalization of public service, targeting sectors and agencies so that each unique challenges are addressed. In the past, meeting you has been a preserve for the senior in government, the CEOs, the PSS, and others. But for the first time, you are meeting us at our point of work so that we could just share, and you can share with us your vision. So we want to thank you for this. The revitalization and re-energization of the water sector is meant to enhance operational efficiency and to guarantee the consistent delivery of high quality, reliable, and timely services to our citizens. Today, we are called upon not only to deliberate on the challenges in the water sector, but also to decisively to act decisively and transformatively. Ladies and gentlemen, revitalization begins with the strengthening of our institutions to create the society we want to live in through collective action. To expedite achievement of universal access to water and sanitation by 2030, we must enhance government frameworks, improve accountability, mechanism and ensure that all agencies within the sector operate with the clarity of mandate and purpose. Institutional efficiency must be at the core of our reforms and our targets. The Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation derives its mandate from the executive authority of Executive Order of number 1 of 2025, which assigns us functions and responsibilities across government. The Executive Order establishes the State Department, which is responsible for providing policy, direction, strategic planning, and oversight of the water and sanitation sectors, while ensuring consistency in the implementation of sector programs and alignment with national development priorities. Water, as I said earlier, surpasses its characterization as a mere resource. It is a human right, a catalyst for development, economic development, and a foundational pillar for public health and environment sustainability. Nevertheless, notwithstanding its critical significance, the sector continues to grapple with enduring challenges, including deteriorating infrastructure, systemic inefficiencies in service delivery, fast-growing population that demand quality service and water, constrained resources, which is not able to match that increasing demand, climate variability, and escalating water fueled by rapid population growth and urbanization. Now, to be able to address this, and knowing that it is an intergovernmental sector where it's a shared responsibility between the national government and the county government, as a sector, we have Water Sector Information in Intergovernmental Forum, where we sit and discuss the challenges facing the sector and to be able to address as together. So to effectively, and as a demonstration of this, we as a sector have been working together to effectively confront the challenges. Financing remains our pivotal cornerstone. Financing infrastructure in Kenya, particularly within the water sector, is not merely through mobilization of capital. It is about fostering sustainable, resilient, and efficient systems capable of serving our nation for generations to come. One viable and sustainable financing mechanism for the sector is National Water and Sanitation Investment Plan, which was developed by looking at all the plans within the CIDPs of the counties and consolidating so as to come up with a comprehensive investment plan that would be required to achieve universal access by 2030. This NAWASIP, or National Water, Sanitation and Sanitation Investment Plan, is a strategic initiative by this ministry to address the critical water and sanitation needs of Kenya. The plan outlines a comprehensive approach to achieving universal access to water and sanitation by the year 2030, in line with the SDG goals, that is Sustainable Development Goals under the UN. To achieve this ambitious yet achievable goal, NAWASIP calls for an investment of over 995 billion shillings, which will be directed towards development, expansion, and modernization of water and sanitation infrastructure across the country. The scope of NAWASIP is vast, encompassing construction of water dams, water treatment plants, sanitation facilities, and implementation of smart water management systems to reduce non-revenue, which has been highlighted as a key challenge for the sector. And maybe just to put it in context, at the current levels of non-revenue, it is estimated we are losing as a country 1 billion shillings a month, which is about 12 billion in a year. That is a lot of money that would have gone into, one, expanding and modernizing our infrastructure. It would have also gone towards connecting another Kenyan to water and increasing the supply. So, however, the successful implementation of this plan hinges on our ability to secure the necessary financing, mobilize resources, and effectively manage the funds to allocate to the projects. Ladies and gentlemen, the water and sanitation subsector is burdened by substantial legacy debt, estimated at Kenya shillings 163.7 billion, which comprises of principal, accrued interests, and penalties. This debt largely stems from historical government borrowing to finance infrastructure, which was later transferred to the sector institutions for management. However, only about 2.2% have been repaid. And I think there is an initiative together with the Treasury that we are working to see how this can be addressed. So it highlights a significant mismatch between debt obligation and the sector repayment capacity. This challenge is further exacerbated by the structural misalignment where entities such as water service providers have not fully assumed or serviced these liabilities, particularly for the pre-devolution loans or assets outside the operational priorities. So as a result, the repayment chain has been disrupted, and shifting the burden to water works development agencies and ultimately the National Treasury, while weakening the financial sustainability. And this challenge has actually made it very difficult to attract private capital into the water service provision through the PPP. I think we've been nursing about 3 projects under PPP, and one of the main challenges has been the legacy debts, which makes the private sector to price their capital very high and making it unattractive. The implication, as I said, is of this debt, the overhang are profound, with many utilities operating under negative cash flows, limiting their ability to cover operational costs, service debts, or invest in expansion and maintenance. This weak financial position undermines their creditworthiness. I think I've said this, to access commercial financing, and so they are not able to appeal to the private sector. Governance gaps is also a major challenge, which includes enforcement of repayment obligations, lack of formalized loans, and also unstructured governance systems within the agencies, where board of directors as well as even the CEOs are not given tenure of office, so they are not able to decisively oversight the institutions that they run. Addressing these challenges is critical to unlocking sustainable investment and will require a structured approach involving debt restructuring, which we are already working with the National Treasury, clear assignment of responsibilities, especially when it comes to bulk water service provision, as well as also the last mile connectivity, which is the preserve of the county government, and the operational reforms for strengthening financial performance. And this is where we're working with WASREP to ensure that licensing of water service providers is pegged on a performance improvement plan so that we are able to monitor the general improvement of the service provision by the water service provision. I think, as the head of public service said, that this is a sector that interfaces every day, every morning, every evening, every night and day with the citizen, and the efficiency of our service provision is felt immediately. So if we are not able to improve our performance, then the citizens will be unhappy with government and they cannot differentiate between the county or the national government. Serikali ni serikali. So we as government, we should work as one so as to be able to improve our service provision to our people. So without such measures, efforts to mobilize financing and achieve long-term sector sustainability will remain constrained. National Infrastructure Fund to us, sir, is emerging as a very vital mechanism for addressing persistent challenges in water and sanitation in the water sanitation sector. It offers a structured platform for mobilizing long-term capital while also creating an avenue for rationalize existing liabilities, particularly in the context of significant, that is the legacy debts and constrained fiscal space. By ensuring the restructuring of financing arrangements, the fund supports more sustainable investment approaches and help bridge the gap between limited public resources and the growing demand for infrastructure development. Also, additionally, the fund enhances the feasibility and attractiveness of the sector by promoting blended financing models and strengthening their bankability. This can unlock large-scale investment in capital-intensive infrastructure, such as bulk water supply systems and sanitation networks, while also boosting investor confidence and private sector participation. However, its success will depend on strong project preparation, which we continually urge our waterworks agencies to do, credible revenue models, and sound governance models, as well as effective integration with existing financing instruments to ensure alignment with sector priorities and sustainable delivery outcomes. And our desire in the sector, sir, is that as the Infrastructure Development Fund is being set up, and with the recent reforms within the Water Act, which has allowed our waterworks agencies to now operate as bulk water supply, and I want to correct that we are not dealing in water service provision to the last mile. We are only operating as bulk water supplies so that we can supply water to the water service providers, and then they do the last mile distribution. So our desire is to enhance collections through this arrangement so that we can also contribute to the National Investment Fund so as to attract more resources to the sector. And this, in the slang word, is having skin in the game. We want to claim legitimately from the Infrastructure Development Fund by us also putting in our resources so that we can leverage on that and bring in more. Ladies and gentlemen, no sector can thrive without its people. Re-energizing the water sector requires sustained investment in human capital, strengthening technical expertise, enhancing motivation, and upholding the highest standards of integrity across the workforce. We must cultivate culture of excellence, professionalism, and unwavering commitment to public service. However, the sector is currently confronted with significant capacity gaps, which includes aging workforce, which poses serious succession challenges and risk the loss of the institutional knowledge. And I want to thank you and also thank the office of, that is the National Treasury, for in the recent authority to be able to recruitment to attract new talent, structure succession management to ensure continuity in leadership and technical roles, and continuous training and skills development to equip personnel with modern competencies. By prioritizing workforce renewal and capacity building, the sector will be better positioned to deliver efficient, innovative, and sustainable water service to the public. Optimizing performance requires a deliberate transition from reactive approaches to proactive and anticipatory service delivery. And I think that is the philosophy that we have adopted in the ministry, where we anticipate the needs of the people and try to use the resources that we have to deliver that. This entails establishing clear and measurable performance benchmarks, rigorously tracking outcomes, and fostering a culture of accountability to the citizens we serve. Central to this effort is the prioritization of customer experience, ensuring that water services are dependable, affordable, safe, and universally accessible. Prompt response to service disruption, open and transparent communication, as well as robust grievances redress mechanism are essential in addressing the public trust and confidence issues. Equally critical is the adoption of innovation as a driver of transformation, where we leverage digital solutions, that is smart metering, especially for the last mile connectivity, and also WRA now in its water resource management regulatory role is actually adopted the smart meters for all the abstractions happening in the country. Data-driven decision-making, real-time monitoring systems, e-citizen platforms, and I think I'm glad all our agencies now are compliant in this area, and electronic procurement, which is the EGP, where all of us now are in it, though with a few teething problems, but we have invested a lot in training so that we can streamline the service delivery, improve transparency, and increase our responsiveness. So by automating the key processes, the sector can reduce bureaucratic delays, facilitate easy access to services, and foster great accountability and citizen engagement across all levels. So ladies and gentlemen, the transformation of the water sector is not a distant aspiration. It is an urgent necessity. And I want us to shift our mental framework so that we can treat this with the urgency it requires, because we are serving Kenyans that are knowledgeable, very demanding, and they know their rights. So we can no longer be casual with the way we offer our services. It requires bold leadership, and I want to urge all the leadership of the sector, both at the national and the county, to embrace collective commitment and unwavering focus. Let us move forward with a shared vision, that is a water sector that is efficient, innovative, inclusive, and resilient, a sector that delivers quality and timely services to every citizen every time. Thank you, and may you all remain committed to safeguarding these vital resources for the present and the future generation. Thank you. So I also take this opportunity, sir, to invite you to give your closing remarks. And we, again, as I finish, is to really thank you for your time, for the focus you've given to us in the sector, the normal support when I come to your office calling for help. You've given us a ready ear and willingness to address the challenges that we have. So we really appreciate you and thank you. Sir, you're welcome.
Yes, in charge of water, there's county executive members of various counties who are in charge of Department of Water, the senior officials, all participants in this virtual meeting. I want to really thank you for your participation in this session, your patience, your contribution, and your resolve to stay put in order to engage and gather all what we have and what we had listed to say. I'll not take a lot of time. I'll take about 2-3 minutes so that we can close, as we have a short time by 1 hour. I want to really thank you for what you are doing in the sector. Despite the challenges, despite the constraints, despite the multiple problems that come your way, the team that is oversighting water sector has been resilient. You have persisted, and that's why we, as much as the service level is not what is expected, but you've been there, standing in the gap, ensuring that as much as we can, the public gets water services as is required. I want to urge all of us to forge ahead. I want all of us to rethink and try to have a very clear trajectory that is aligned to government thinking and programs, trying to shed off what we can, issues of integrity, issues of accountability, issues of recognizing our citizens as our customer and making sure that the customer who is a citizen is at the center of what we are doing, either decision making, either service provision, either challenge solutions or coming up with solutions that will ensure that the services are optimized. We need to be citizen-centric as it has been. Citizen centricity is what will turn around the entire posture of our public service delivery. So as we are out there continuing with our normal assignments as per our mandate, I want all waterworks authorities, all regulators in the field, all the leadership at the headquarters to work as one team and to have one resolve, one objective of ensuring that we provide this essential commodity to each and every citizen in this country in a manner and in the speed that the resources will allow us to do. Let us also be conscious on how we deliver our services. Customer care, customer posture, minding the customer, working like a corporate officer, a person who understands who the customer is, making sure that you portray, you project the government image in a way that each and every citizen will see that this government is serving us, but not loading over us. I want us to turn around our attitude, our behavior, our character during our service provision to the people so that the people can identify with us, can acknowledge the challenges that we are facing, can also commend us for the services that we are offering, because if the citizens that we are serving understands where we come from, understands the challenges that we are going through, the limitation of resources, but sees that we are going far over and above the expectation to provide that service that we're able to do it now, it will be easier for the people to understand. It is easier for the citizens even to be patient for budget cycles to run through so that the resources that are required are availed. Secondly, is the issue, as I said earlier, the issue of accountability, the issue of integrity, issues of corruption. This is something that has messed. This is one thing that has messed the image of government. It has totally ruined even our stature in society. Even you as public officers are not respected, are not understood. People have no confidence because of corruption, theft, demanding bribes, people paying for services that are otherwise free, people seeing you abusing the offices that you have, misusing public assets like vehicles, being arrogant in offices, being lethargic, you don't respond in time, you don't offer explanation that is understood and reasonable. So all manner of corruption, ladies and gentlemen, should stop. Whether you are demanding money to do that last mile, whether you are demanding money to go and fix that leakage, whether you are abetting non-revenue water everywhere, whether you are with them or the mere fact that you are your action or your character does not bother to fix it, is what we are talking about. So I want to urge all of us to work together. We have feedback mechanism. We expect the leadership led by the PS, the directors, secretaries at the top, to also be officers that can be approached, to open their offices, to get the real problem, the real challenge from the ground, to also to accept, to allow officers down the scale to be part of those who formulate and come up with solutions on how to tackle as matter services in our sector. So otherwise, let us know what is the objective, what is the end product of our service. Is it a dam? Is it the piping? Or it is water, either to reach the farm or to reach a house or to reach an industry or to reach whatever. What is the objective? And as long as that objective is not met, the end product has not reached where it is supposed to go. Even if you work like how, even if you construct a dam for 10 years, as huge as you think technically sound, so long as that water does not reach the intended destination, no one will listen to you, no one will acknowledge, and by extension, the government will be, will be in trouble from the people that they are supposed to serve. So let us be seeing the end product. Our question should always is, what is this that we are supposed to deliver? Are we delivering water to a school? Is it to a town? What is the objective of these sanitation services? So that from the word go, ladies and gentlemen, let us do proper planning. Let us also agree if the monies that have been given are not enough, let it be clear to each and every consumer along the line to know that this phase 1 is for the dam. Phase 2 perhaps will be the pipeline. Phase 3 is for something. Phase 4 is for the last mile. So that it becomes clear that you know what you are doing, you are very conscious of the resources that you have and the activity that you have to do at any one time. By so doing, the people will understand and they will be even ready to wait. But this issue of pumping in more money where the consumption is high and thereby the commission is high, I think we need to cease and focus on the end product. So that is my second point. Let us focus now on the end product. What is it that we are supposed to deliver and to where? So that at the end of the day, you know what you are supposed to do and you'll be happy to complete it and to hand over something that is functional. Otherwise, we've been running programs in my office. You remember proportionate lawful consequences for infractions. Anybody who in their course of their duty fails to either execute their mandate in a proper manner, the consequences has to follow. And those consequences have to be lawful, and the consequences has to be proportionate. If you are to be surcharged, let it be. If you have to be fired, let it be. If you have to be promoted, to be commended for doing a good job, let it be. Decorated, let it be. Because we want each and everybody to take a space of recognition. You have the outcome of your work should be seen. So issues of infractions, as I said earlier, and we have issued a circular, we want all the leadership to take responsibility of either acknowledging that they are the ones who did what they did, or if there are people who messes up, the supervisors or whoever, that person must face the consequences. And it has to cascade downwards. And also, if somebody does very well, he has to be commended and to be rewarded. So that at the end of the day, we have a balance and we have to be seen and purposefully so that we are neutral and we want only service delivery to be done. Finally, let me wish you the very best. The sector is critical. You are offering a service that is a human right. I want all of us to support the government, to support the president, and to do the much we can to ensure that our sector is served, our sector is seen be doing its best to serve the people of Kenya. So thank you very much. Thank you, PS. Thank you, all the organizers, Lima team, all the chairs of institutions, parastatals, regulators, implementers, all the officers that managed to attend this meeting, from the top to the bottom, from auditors to finance people, engineers, surveyors, cartographers, all those who makes that department, that sector work. I want to urge you and wish you the very best as we are going forward, marching forward towards the first world. And you are at the center of supporting this country to move from this level where we are now to the first world. Thank you very much and have a fruitful month, and let us do it and let us make it work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
At this juncture, yes, our PS wants to say something. Welcome, sir.
Continue.
Sir, at this juncture, I really want to thank the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, the Principal Administrative Secretary, our host, the PS for the State Department for Water and the Sanitation. Sir, we promise that we are going to implement all the directives that you have given us, and we really thank you for your invaluable guidance that you are giving to us. I now invite Madam Jacqueline Kemonto, the CEO of Lake Victoria South Waterworks Development Agency, to close the meeting with a word of prayer. Welcome, Madam Jacqueline.